Hare Krishna, welcome to this episode of Chaitanya Charitamrita. One second. So, in this episode, we will cover the branches and sub branches of the Chaitanya, Lord Chaitanya's disciplic succession, Gaudiya Vaishnavas, especially Rup and Sanatan Goswami. We already kind of studied that in the previous session, I think, which was 2 weeks back, and we're going to go through some more of it in today's verse as well. All right, so we'll say our Mangalacharan prayers and we will try to study this. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, please share this live stream with others in the groups, informing that it has started, because I haven't done these live streams in about 2 weeks or something, so they might not be aware. And let me know if the audio is all right and video is all right. And I have checked with the live streaming software. I'm no more able to show my iPad like before here. I can only show this screen. So that would mean your comments I will not be able to see in real time. So when I was showing the iPad, so the verses and all, I used to take it here and the comment section used to be on my screen here. So I could see it live. But now I won't be able to see your comments live. So if there is delay, please don't mind. Delay in my replying to your comments or seeing your comments. But I will try to make an effort to look at the comments on a regular basis. Let's see how it goes. So whenever I'm looking at comments, you can also see on my screen here. You can see the comment section here. You see that? There's the comment section. So you may not be able to see very clearly, but yeah, when I come here, that's when I'm looking at the comments. So you are able to see my entire screen basically here. I'm not very happy with the way whatever changes happened to the software, because when I signed up for it, it was much better. But I think it's the browsers, some coding that they changed, which doesn't allow me to share any window that I want, which has led to this problem. Anyway, so just a word of caution there. Thank you. I think everything's okay. Looks like audio, video. That's good. Thank you very much. And we'll go to here. Yes, one more thing. I need to have this on just to see how my CPU is doing. Activity monitor. So right now it's all good. So Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adalila, chapter 10, text 85. Please let me know if the size of this text is all right for you. If it is sufficiently visible, or should I make it bigger? Please let me know in the comments. I will look at the comments in a few seconds time. So let me read this. तार मध्ये तार मध्ये रूप सनातन अ, तार मध्ये रूप सनातन बड़ा शाखा अनुपम जीव राजेंद्रादि उपशाखा. Among these branches, Roop and Sanatan were principal. Anupam, Jiva Goswami, and others headed by Rajendra were their sub branches. Rajeshwari Mataji, make a bit bigger, growing old. Okay. How about this size? If I make it too big, we can only see a very small portion of the text. Let me know if this size is all right. So, Roop and Sanatan were principal branches, and Anupama, Jiva Goswami, and others headed by Rajendra were their sub branches. I don't know who Rajendra is. Um, Probably we'll know in the purport. But Anupam is the brother of Roop and Sanatan Goswamis, younger brother, and apparently they had other brothers and sisters who were not devotees. And Jiva Goswami is the son of Anupam Goswami, Anupam Thakur, and Jiva Goswami therefore is the nephew of Roop and Sanatan Goswami. So, in the six Goswamis, these three are in one family. But again, Vaishnavas are in one family because we are Achyuta Gotra and they're in the same disciplic succession. So I went into great lengths on this in the last session. What is Gotra, Kula, Jati, Parampara, Sampradaya, all these words. So in that way, it's one family, one disciplic succession. Let me see the comment section. For me, it's good. Okay, perfect. Okay, that's good. Purport. In the Gaur Ganodesha Deepika, by now I think I know what this book is. I hope you know what this book is. Gaur Ganodesha Deepika. This is by Kavi Karnapur, Shivananda Sena's third son's book. In this, there is this. It's basically a book which is a compilation of mentions of all the associates of Lord Chaitanya and their original position in Krishna Lila. Who incarnated as who in Chaitanya Lila? Like who in Krishna Lila incarnated as who in Chaitanya Lila? So that is this Gaur Ganodesha Deepika, basically revealing the real identities of the associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Gaur Ganodesha Deepika. So 195th verse in that book, it is said that Srila Jiva Goswami was formerly Vilasa Manjari Gopi. From his very childhood, Jiva Goswami was greatly fond of Srimad Bhagavatam. He later came to Navadvip to study Sanskrit. And following in the footsteps of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, he circumambulated the entire Navadvip Dham. After visiting Navadvip Dham, he went to Banaras to study Sanskrit under Madhusudan Vachaspati. And after finishing his studies in Banaras, he went to Vrindavan and took shelter of his uncles, Sri Rupa and Sanatan. This is described in the Bhakti Ratnakar. As far as our information goes, Srila Jiva Goswami composed and edited at least 25 books. Wow, there is a whole list of very nice. They're all very much celebrated and they are listed as follows. Hari Namamrita Vyakaran. So this is where he taught grammar using Krishna's names. So just by learning grammar in this way, one can become one participates in the Sankirtan movement. I have given an example of this in Mukundamala Stotra, 43rd verse. Krishno Rakshatino Jagat Guru. So that verse, this is that is an illustration of grammatical rules using Krishna's name. So Krishna, Krishnam Namadhvam Sada. So Krishna, Krishnam, Krishnena, Krishnaya, Krishne, Krishnasya, Krishna, and no, Krishna something I forgot, Krishnath. Yeah. So this is grammatical rules, and Harinamamrita Vyakaran is basically Krishna conscious grammar lessons. That's all. And that is actually very valuable because many Sanskrit scholars they go into all kinds of things, but actually the whole purpose of studying grammar or anything, Vedaishcha sarvair ahameva vedyo. Krishna says, I am the object of all knowledge. And these are upashakha of Vedas. There are 6 upashakhas actually. One of them is astrology, one of them is grammar, one of them is chanda, vyakaran, chanda, jyotisha, and 3 more are there. So these are upashakhas of Vedas. I don't know if I can find it. I'll check on my iPad first, and then if I can find it, I'll take it out on the screen here. Corollary. Yes. Yes. Madhya 19.17. Let's go there and come back. Okay, here you see Bhattacharya Pandit Bisha Trisha Laya Bhagavat Vichar Koren Sabhatevi Vasiya. Boshiya. Sri Sanatana Goswami used to discuss Srimad Bhagavatam in an assembly of 20 or 30 learned Brahmana scholars. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives the following commentary on the words Bhagavat Vichar. As confirmed in the Mundaka Upanishad 1, 4 and 5, there are 2 kinds of educational systems. Dve Vidye Veditavya iti. 2 kinds of educational systems. Hasma yad brahmavido vadanti para chaiva paracha. Para cha eva aparacha. Para and apara vidya. Tatrapara rigvedo yajurvedah. सामवेदोऽथर्ववेदः शिक्षा कल्पो व्याकरणं निरुक्तं छन्दो ज्योतिषमिति अथ परा यया तद् अक्षरम् अधिगम्यते. There are 2 kinds of educational systems. One deals with transcendental knowledge, Paravidya, and the other with material knowledge, Aparavidya. All the Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Samaveda, and Atharva Veda, along with their corollaries known as Shiksha, Kalpa, Vyakaran, Nirukta, Chanda, and Jyotisha, belong to the inferior system of material knowledge, Aparavidya. By Paravidya, one can understand the Akshara, Brahman, or the absolute truth. You see, even the 4 Vedas and the 6 corollaries, which are, what is that? Shiksha, Kalpa, Vyakaran, Nirukta. Nirukta is a dictionary. Chanda and Jyotisha belong to the inferior system of material knowledge, Aparavidya. By Paravidya, one can understand the Akshara, Brahman, or the Absolute Truth. As far as the Vedic literature is concerned, the Vedanta Sutra is accepted as the Paravidya. Vedanta Sutra. Now, the Vedas are Aparavidya. Vedanta Sutra is Paravidya. Srimad Bhagavatam is an explanation of that Paravidya. Those who aspire for liberation, mukti or moksha, and introduce themselves as Vaidantika are also equal to those groups aspiring to improve religion, dharma, economic development, artha, and sense gratification, kama. Dharma, artha, kama, and moksha are called chaturvarga. They are all within the system of inferior material knowledge. I mean, we can just compare. Even dharma, artha, kama, moksha is inferior knowledge, aparavidya. What to speak of just the modern education system, which is based on artha and kama, and nothing to do with dharma or moksha? What to speak of bhakti? How degraded, how um, you know barbaric this modern education system is. You can just understand by the description of this Mundaka Upanishad's explanation here. Any literature giving information about the spiritual world, spiritual life, spiritual identity, and the spirit soul is called Paravidya. Srimad Bhagavatam does not have anything to do with the materialistic way of life. Dharma prodhyata kaitavatra paramo nirmatsaranam sata. It gives transcendental information to educate people in the superior system of Paravidya. Sanatana Goswami was engaged in discussing the Bhagavad Vidya, which means he discussed transcendental superior knowledge. Those who are karmis, jnanis, and yogis are not actually fit to discuss Srimad Bhagavatam. Only Vaishnavas or pure devotees are fit to discuss that literature. As Srimad Bhagavatam itself states, 12, 13, 18. This is a very important verse and we should know it by heart. श्रीमद्भागवतं पुराणममलं यद्वैष्णवानां प्रियं यस्मिन् पारमहंस्यमेकममलं ज्ञानं परं गीयते तत्र ज्ञानविरागभक्तिसहितं आविष्कृतं तच्छृण्वन् सुपठन् विचारणपरो भक्त्या विमुच्येन्नराः. Although Srimad Bhagavatam is counted among the Puranas, it is called the spotless Purana because it does not discuss anything material. It is liked by transcendental Vaishnava devotees. The subject matter found in Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for Paramahamsas. As it is said, Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam Vedyam 112. A Paramahamsa is one who does not live in the material world and who does not envy others. In Srimad Bhagavatam, devotional service is discussed to arouse the living entity to the transcendental position of jnana, knowledge, and vairagya renunciation. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 1 to 12, तच्छ्रद्दधानाः मुनयो ज्ञानवैराग्ययुक्तया पश्यन्त्यात्मनि चात्मानं भक्त्या श्रुतगृहीतया. The seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes that absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti. This is not sentiment. Knowledge and renunciation can be obtained through devotional service, bhaktya shrutagrihitaya. That is, by arousing one's dormant devotional consciousness, Krishna consciousness. When Krishna consciousness is aroused, it relieves one from fruitive activity, activity for economic improvement and material enjoyment. This relief is technically called Naishkarmya, and when one is relieved, he is no longer interested in working hard for sense gratification. Srimad Bhagavatam is Srila Vyasadev's last mature contribution, and one should read and hear it in an assembly of realized souls while engaging in devotional service. At such a time, one can be liberated from all material bondage. This was the course taken by Sanatana Goswami, who retired from government service to study Srimad Bhagavatam with learned scholars. So, retirement means to retire from material activities, but to be very much engaged in spiritual activities. Nowadays, retirement means, oh, okay, now time for relaxing, playing with grandkids, grandchildren. That is so-called retirement. Retirement from all activity, or retirement from work, and then I now engage in full family bondage. That is so perverted. That is such a perverted form of retirement. In fact, our system is to retire at 5 years old. Kaumara acharit prajna bhagavan dharman bhagavataniha. From 5 years old, we have to start spiritual life. Now, when we say apara and aparavidya, we are not condemning aparavidya. In fact, It is said that there are two kinds of instructions in the Vedas, Vedic literature. One is how to attain to the spiritual kingdom, and the other is how to deal with this material world while we are here. These two things are described always. So, Varnashram system, for example, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and all this organization of human society, the rules, the Dharma Shastras, Artha Shastras, Kama Shastras, Moksha Shastras, the Puranas, Agamas, all Agamas are, of course, for sadhana and spiritual advancement. But all these Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, all these literatures, these are meant for elevation. Now, Apara is also, by right, serves the Paravidya. For example, we just learned in the other purport, 1085, that Jiva Goswami, one second. Jiva Goswami learned Sanskrit under who? Vachaspati? Madhusudan Vachaspati. So now, grammar means, Sanskrit means this is all Aparavidya, right? But he learned it in his service to Paravidya. Where, as much as needed we have to have, but then after that we have to go into, um, devotional line. Similarly, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was, he was greatly learned scholar. He had an eidetic memory. Eidetic memory means um, photographic memory. He never forgets. Like 50 years later, you ask him what he read 50 years back, he will reproduce passage to passage, line for line, word for word, exactly as he read 50 years ago. He will reproduce from memory. So that is his, what kind of scholar you have to be to have that kind of memory? And he was an expert at Sanskrit, he was an expert at astrology, but he left it because that's not what he wants to do in life. It's all Aparavidya. But if you're good in Sanskrit and everything, then you can, of course, understand this thing. But the secret is not in the Sanskrit language, because there are many Sanskrit scholars who misunderstand Bhagavad Gita. So it has to be Bhaktosame Sakha Chet Rahasyam Hyetaduttamam. Now, so it has to be, even grammar, Sanskrit is coming from what? From who? From Krishna. So if we learn it and use it in Krishna's service, that's well and good. And education we must have. To study the Vedas, we must know Sanskrit. Of course, now by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we have it in English. Otherwise, we would have to learn Sanskrit and Bengali to understand Chaitanya Charitamrita and Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita and all. And even then, we would misunderstand because we're not guided by a pure devotee. So once that is learned, how to understand, then one has to understand the actual Vedic literature. So, but many people might get distracted by that, these materialistic endeavors or of Aparavidya, or I want to become a Sanskrit scholar. That's not what we want to do. That's not what we want to become. That's a deviation from aim of life. So Jiva Goswami very mercifully created this Harinamamrita Vyakaran so that one can learn Vyakaran, Sanskrit grammar with Harinama, with Krishna's name. So it's Krishna conscious grammar. So one need not even stray that far apart, to learn Sanskrit. You can learn Sanskrit with Krishna consciousness involved. So this is a great service. So Jiva Goswami wrote Harinamamrita Vyakaran, Sutra Malika, Dhatu Sangraha, Krishnarcha Deepika, Gopala Virudavali, Rasamrita Shesha, Shri Madhava Mahotsava, Shri Sankalpa Kalpa Vriksha. Until now, I only know Harinamamrita Vyakaran. Until I have not heard of all these books at all. Bhavartha Suchaka Champu, Gopal Tapani Tika. So Gopal Tapani Upanishad is there. He has written a commentary on that, Tika. Then 11th, a commentary on the Brahma Samhita, a commentary on the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, a commentary on the Ujjvala Neelamani, which is also written by Rupa Goswami, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Rupa Goswami, a commentary on the Yogasara Stava, a commentary on the Gayatri Mantra, as described in the Agni Puran. Okay. A description of the Lord's lotus feet derived from the Padma Puran. 17. A description of the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. Gopala Champu in two parts. And 19 to 25, seven Sandarbhas. Or two part. Why seven Sandarbhas? Oh, 19 to 25. But how, why seven? Krama Sandarbha, Tattva Sandarbha, Bhagavad Sandarbha, Paramatma Sandarbha, Krishna Sandarbha, Bhakti Sandarbha, and Preeti Sandarbha. Oh, I thought it's always called Shat Sandarbha. Why is there seven Sandarbhas? It's interesting. Shat Sandarbha. Why it's not called Sapta Sandarbha? I don't know. This is the first time I'm. So, those are the Sandarbhas he wrote. In those, I mean, in the Shat Sandarbha, it's usually called Shat Sandarbha. It's never called Sapta Sandarbha. I don't know why it is called seven here. Interesting. I don't know. So anyway, if anybody can find something they can share in the comment section, and we can, you know, learn more. But in this Sandarbhas, he has explained the entire philosophy of Vaishnavism, Gaudiya Vaishnavism, and established it as the supreme philosophy in the entire universe. There's nobody who can actually defeat Shat Sandarbha. After the disappearance of Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami in Vrindavan, Srila Jiva Goswami became the Acharya of all the Vaishnavas in Bengal, Orissa, and the rest of the world, and it is he who used to guide them in their devotional service. Now, although he said it is Acharya, but he actually never took disciples of his own. He became Shiksha Guru for Srinivas Acharya, Shamananda Pandit, and Narottam Das Thakur. Narottam Das Thakur? No. Srinivas Acharya, um, Shamananda Pandit. Who's the other one? Ramachandra. Yeah. There's another one. Um, so I think it's Narottam Das Thakur, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So anyway, Narottam Das Thakur as well. Lokanath Goswami. Who is the other one? Let me just give a moment here. Srinivas Shamananda. I don't know. I don't know. I forgot. I read about their life also. I read about their life. Anyway, he became the Acharya of all the Vaishnavas in Bengal, Orissa, and the rest of the world, and is he who used to guide them in their devotional service. And you know what? When he wrote more than 400,000 verses in total. This Jiva Goswami. Nobody has written that much, unless it is Vyasadeva. So that much. In fact, there is a whole university dedicated to his teaching. I think in the Banaras Hindu University, there is a whole section on Jiva Goswami's writings alone. So in Vrindavan, he established the Radha Damodar temple, where after retirement, we had the opportunity to live from 1962 until 1965. So this is Prabhupada speaking. So he's saying until from 1962 to 65, he was there in the Radha Damodar temple, and even now, if anybody goes there, you can visit this quarters of Srila Prabhupada. When we decided to come to the United States of America, so this is where Srila Prabhupada was making plans to go to America in the Radha Damodar temple. When Jiva Goswami was still present, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami compiled his famous Chaitanya Charitamrita. Later, Srila Jiva Goswami inspired Srinivas Acharya, Narottam Das Thakur, and Dukhi Krishnadas to preach Krishna consciousness in Bengal. Okay, so I'm right. It is Narottam Das Thakur, Srinivas Acharya, Narottam Das Thakur, and Shamananda Pandit. Narottam Das Thakur, although he was a disciple of Lochan Das Thakur, but he took Shiksha from Jiva Goswami because Lochan Das Thakur asked him to do so. So, Dukhi Krishnadas, I think, is Shamananda Pandit. Or maybe it's different because Shamananda Pandit went to Orissa to preach, and there his disciple was Rasikananda Thakur in Orissa. Jiva Goswami inspired Srinivas Acharya, Narottam Das Thakur, and Dukhi Krishnadas to preach Krishna consciousness in Bengal. Jiva Goswami was informed that all the manuscripts that had been collected from Vrindavan and sent to Bengal for preaching purposes were plundered near Vishnupur in Bengal, but later he received the information that the books had been recovered. Just a second here. Shat Sandarbha. Okay, so here is the description of why is it seven sandarbhas. Jiva's Krama Sandarbha commentary on the Bhagavad Puran is often described as the seventh of the six sandarbhas. That's interesting. So Krama Sandarbha is not in the Shat Sandarbha, but it's the commentary on Bhagavad Puran by Jiva Goswami, and that is Krama Sandarbha. Interesting. So that clarifies. Thank you very much. It's not satisfying until you actually know what you're reading. So that's satisfying. Okay. At least we learned something. So here, this story of the books being plundered, the manuscripts, it was a very actually I forgot many details of that story. I think Subala Prabhu remembers. Um, I read it. I wrote about it in our magazine also from the Lives of the Acharyas, but I have to read a few times to actually like remember the exact chronology of events and all the details of the events. So they were actually distributing books. So the first book distribution party was by Srinivas Acharya, and um, at those days there was no printing press. Um, Johannes Gutenberg, he actually printed the printing press. I mean, he invented the printing press in 1440 before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's advent, but in the Western world, and he used it to print the Bible in the Western world. You see how advanced they are in technology already by the time. Um, so in our case, the technology was by Shruta, by hearing, the memory power, whereas the Western world they depended on external devices like this printing press and all that. Our parampara is by just Shruta Graha. But because the memory in the Kali Yuga is not, good, so as it is said, if you cannot put it in your mastak head, then you have to put it in your pustak book, and then you have to read, and then actually books are for less intelligent people. The intelligent people, they actually just listen and remember. So Shrutagraha, they're called. Just by hearing it once, they will remember the entire life and know how to apply it also. They realize it. So that used to be the power of the brahmacharis and the brahmanas. Now, with the advent of Kali Yuga, that deteriorated, and therefore the Western inventions became more relevant to our this thing. India caught on late to that technological advancement because Indians primarily relied on personal capacity than external dependence. So if you depend on a printing press, you're actually depending on something external. So even yogic power, for example, is by own yogic power that one can do anything. Whereas now I am in your home, wherever you're watching it from. I'm at your home now through this technology. Without this technology, I won't be able to do it. But Sanjaya in Bhagavad Gita, he could narrate what was going on, how he could see the live stream where there was no broadcast. So that was by yogic power and by the blessings of course, Vyasadeva. So it was possible. It was not that this technology was not there, but it was only there with the qualified people. And that is the best way to actually do it. Now, with this technology, it is available to everyone. And so there are so many people who do not know the aim of life, who do not care about anything, who are only interested in how to earn money, and they are using these platforms to earn money and become rich and apply it in sense gratification. So technology empowers everyone, whereas the Vedic way is to empower only the qualified people, and that is the right way to do it. Actually, all this technology is only supposed to be used by devotees. In fact, Prabhupada said only devotees should use the aeroplanes. The other people should not. But of course, in the material world, everybody will for their own reasons. But actually, only devotees travel and make it nice. Like Narad Muni, he does not need this anyway. Again, and ordinary people could not travel like Narad Muni, and there was no need to travel like that. What they will do? Go here and go there, and become enamored and distracted in this world? No, focus on their spiritual life. If they want, they can travel by foot. They can travel, in the Punya Desh of Bharat, and of course there were boats also. There, if people really want to come from other countries or something, somehow they could come. So there was you know navigational systems were there even before boat. Every time the comparison of Krishna's lotus feet is compared to a boat, that means boats were there since time immemorial. Not that Vasco da Gama or some Alexander the Great have invented some boats, or just before that some Greeks have invented or Romans have invented. No, no, no. It's rubbish history. Nauki was there in Ram Leela, and that conversation between Ram and that boatman was there. Guha. He said, I want to take you to the other side of the thing, and then how much I have to pay? Ram asked. Then he said, no, no, no. People of the same profession, they cannot pay for each other's service. Ram said, what do you mean? Yeah, I am a boatman crossing, helping people cross this river. And you are a boatman who will, help people cross the ocean of material existence. So we are both boatmen. So we are on the same business. So I can't take anything from you. In other words, actually, he did not want to take anything because he wanted to serve Ram. But he put it in this way, in a very poetic way, where he said, "You are also a boatman. I am also a boatman. So we are in the same business. So I cannot pay you, or you cannot pay me for each other's services. So in other words, I am taking you across this river. You please take me across this material ocean." So, so that's a beautiful pastime. But the point is, the boatman was there. So these things were there before. Ship, you know, ship, and all these things were there before. And navigational systems were there. The Dhruva, the pole star, was the navigational point. I mean, even before GPS and all this came out, that was the way people actually navigated, even in the medieval times. So the thing is, the mystic power was available only to the qualified, and they used it properly. Narad Muni could travel without a visa, without a passport, without a aeroplane, at will, from planet to planet, from material to spiritual, spiritual to material, anywhere he wants. And what did he do with that power? He preached Krishna consciousness everywhere, and he's famous all over the universe. Ebe Jasho Bhushuk Tribhuvana. And so that is the standard. Whereas in Kali Yuga, all those powers are absent. So now it is available for everyone. So devotees use that, take advantage of that, and preach. Um, so anyway, at those times the books were printed by handwritten copies of the manuscripts. So you can just imagine, if one copy of the book has to be produced, a person with very good handwriting and very good understanding has to copy from the original manuscript, which were kept in temples, in like secure places in temples. They had their own quarters of where Shastra can be found and people can come. It's like a library, and so scholars used to come and refer to them and like take notes, and they do their own study like that. So temples used to be the place where people could come and learn and do research about this, and have classes about this and everything. And that is the purpose of a temple. And of course, if now the book distribution allows us to have many millions of books very quickly, and we can distribute very fast. Um, Even when the printing press came out, it was still very slow. And now with the digital tools, it is very fast. In fact, Radhika Saki Mataji, who I think was on this live stream, she is the editor of our magazine. Science of Godhead in Singapore. So she designs everything on the computer, and then we send the file out through WhatsApp to our printer, and then he prints everything, and then we have printed, at our doorstep, arrives at the temple, and then we distribute it. So I mean, it's so easy now. Back in the day, it was not, and they had only like 12 copies of some books and all that. So no, the first book distribution party by Srinivas Acharya, they sold 12 books. 12 books, that's all, and it was a huge success, and that was considered a huge success. People buying a book is unheard of in those days. Like what was available only in the temples now is available in my home. That was like a novel idea, and not everybody could afford because it takes a huge expense to buy one book. I mean, how much effort is required to make it? Somebody with a good handwriting has to copy entirely, and he has to understand also before he copies. So, and after all that, the books were stolen. You see, there was a whole story actually, and then they eventually recovered it, and it was a huge anxiety for the party at the time, the book distribution party. And they used to travel in bullock carts and travel from village to village, town to town. So great endeavor just to sell 12 books. Um, so I mean, how much easier it is now. Um, like I can show you on the screen right now here. I mean, this is unheard of. And I'm sitting like miles and thousands of miles away, and then we're having this meeting together. I mean, just imagine. So anyway, Jiva Goswami was informed that all the manuscripts that had been collected from Vrindavan and sent to Bengal for preaching purposes were plundered near Vishnupur in Bengal. But later he received the information that the books had been recovered. Sri Jiva Goswami awarded the designation Kaviraj to Ramachandra Sena, a disciple of Srinivas Acharya's, and to Ramachandra's younger brother Govinda. So Ramachandra Sangamage Narottama Das, this Ramachandra Kaviraj is actually Ramachandra Sena, very dear to Narottam Das Thakur and Srinivas Acharya, very dear. While Jiva Goswami was alive, Srimati Janava Devi, the pleasure potency of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, went to Vrindavan with a few devotees. Jiva Goswami was very kind to the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the Vaishnavas from Bengal. Whoever went to Vrindavan, he provided with a residence in Prasadam. His disciple Krishnadas Adhikari listed all the books of the Goswamis in his diary. The Sahajiyas level three accusations against Srila Jiva Goswami. Okay, something interesting here. This is certainly not congenial for the execution of devotional service. The first accusation concerns a materialist who was very proud of his reputation as a great Sanskrit scholar and approached Sri Rupa and Sanatan to argue with them about the revealed scriptures. Sri Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, not wanting to waste their time, gave him a written statement that he had defeated them in a debate on the revealed scriptures. Taking this paper, the scholar approached Jiva Goswami for a similar certificate of defeat. His name was Rup Narayan, this scholar. Taking this paper, the scholar approached Jiva Goswami for a similar certificate of defeat, but Jiva Goswami did not agree to give him one. On the contrary, he argued with him regarding the scriptures and defeated him. Certainly, it was right for Jiva Goswami to stop such a dishonest scholar from advertising that he had defeated Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. But due to their illiteracy, the Sahajiya class referred to this incident to accuse Srila Jiva Goswami of deviating from the principle of humility. So they say, the Sahajiyas say, because they don't know, they are not Sanskrit scholars, or they don't even make an effort to read books. They just advertise themselves as devotees, and they say, in fact, they project it as a virtue to not read books rather than to read books. They say, if you read books, you will become proud, like this Jiva Goswami, who wanted to, smash him. He wanted to prove that his scholarship. He was, have not having humility. Whereas Rupa and Sanatan, you see, they were humble, and look at Jiva Goswami, he's not at all humble. He was picking a quarrel unnecessarily with a materialist. And Rupa Goswami also chastised Jiva Goswami for this. But that was for a different reason. He said, why are you wasting time? And of course, there are two lessons to learn. So Rupa Goswami's lesson is that, we should not waste time with these people. And from Jiva Goswami, we can learn that we cannot allow the acharyas. See, Jiva Goswami took up that fight because he criticized Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, which he could not tolerate. So Rupa Goswami he said, okay, I'll accept defeat on personal note. So Jiva Goswami could have done that. But when he heard that Rupa and Sanatan were defeated, and that insult he could not take. And that is a proper behavior for a Vaishnava. To not tolerate another Vaishnava's an insult to another Vaishnava, a bona fide Vaishnava. And what to speak of Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. So, and therefore he challenged him and defeated him completely, humiliated him. And Sahajiya, they accuse Jiva Goswami. So this is three accusations. This is the first. So Jiva Goswami of deviating from the principle of humility. They do not know, however, that humility and meekness are appropriate when one's own honor is insulted, but not when Lord Vishnu or the Acharyas are blasphemed. In such cases, one should not be humble and meek, but must act. One should follow the example given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Chaitanya says in his Shikshashtakam, Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sada Hari. One can chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. Now, one can chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state. That means what? Oh, one can chant like that. No, no, no. One will be able to chant the holy name only in a humble state of mind. Kirtaniya Sada Harihim. One can chant means, otherwise one cannot chant the holy name. One will not be able to chant. One will be able to chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind. If we are not humble, we cannot chant the holy name. This Kirtaniya Sada Hari is our motto. But that can happen only if we are Trinadapi Sunichena, Tarorapi Sahishnuna, Amanina, Manadena, Kirtaniya Sada Hari. Four things. We have to be humbler than the grass, more tolerant than the tree, not expecting any respect, giving all respect to others, then we can Kirtaniya Sada Hari. That is humility. That is for one's personal. But for others, the same Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went against Jaga and Madhai very angrily when Nityananda Prabhu was offended, was injured by them. That's when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed his anger. And same thing Jiva Goswami did. So he was not wrong in doing that. Regarding this Amanina Manadena, I'm actually reading this book called Brahmana and Vaishnava currently by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. This is one of the most powerful essays. It will forever be remembered by the Vaishnava community. And if you read this once, you will understand how much of a masterpiece this book is. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disappearance day. I had this book for many years. I bought it, I think, 5 years ago, and wanted to read, but I never read it. But now I'm just reading it, and my goodness, I mean, the kind of arguments that he puts forward, the flow of his argument, the way he takes it, it's just nobody in the universe can defeat this person, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And in this, I found a very interesting verse. I mean, so many nice verses to learn from this book. I haven't actually taken any note of them anywhere, but I was just reading only. But I plan to take notes on this and record many of my observations and maybe publish it as an article and a video also, which is something I want to do actually on every book that I want to do, every book that I read, and just share my realizations on that. So let's see. Maybe we can have classes on this as well. But I'll just take you to this one place. This is from the Manava Dharma Shastra, chapter 2, texts 162 and 163. And this is concerning this verse, Amanina Manadena, that we should always be devoid of all sense of false prestige, and we should give all respect to others. Now, if in the Bhagavad Gita also we have seen that there are verses where Tatha manapamanayoh. He's equal. A devotee is equal in honor and dishonor. And like matra sparshastu kaunteya, one should be tolerant to happiness and distress. Now look at this verse from Manava Dharma Shastra that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur quoted. I don't know if this book is on this. I can show it on the screen, but I'm just going to read it from this book for now. I will later check whether this book is even there in the folio. So next time I can show if I have to show. Sammanad Brahmano Nityam Uddhijet Vishadiva Amritasyeva Chakankshed Avamanasya Sarvada सुखम ही अवमतः शेते सुखम च प्रतिबुध्यते सुखम चरति लोकेस्मिन् अवमन्ता विनश्यति. Throughout his life, a Brahmana should consider material prestige to be like poison and dishonor to be like nectar. See that? Then, after all, if one learns to tolerate dishonor, then his agitation will subside and he will happily sleep, happily wake, and happily move about in this world. The person who insults him will, as a result of his sin, become embarrassed, and his happiness in this and the next life will be vanquished. So, just look at this. Amritasyeva chakangshed avamanasya sarvada. You have to take dishonor as nectar and honor as poison. And so, like that, there are so many gems from this book. Honestly, I can't overstate the importance of this book. Um, no amount of glorification is an exaggeration of this book. And yeah, I would like to share the finding. My realizations from this book and kind of a summary study of this book. Sometime, I hope. I have all these desires, but many of them have not manifested. I'm so frustrated. Well, let me see. Prabhupada's mercy, Krishna's mercy, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's mercy. Hopefully, it will all come out. So, one can chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking himself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. Only in such a state of mind. Nevertheless, when the Lord was informed that Nityananda Prabhu was injured by Jagai and Madhai, he immediately went to the spot, angry like fire and wanting to kill them. Thus, Lord Chaitanya has explained his verse by the example of his own behavior. One should tolerate insults against oneself, but when there is blasphemy committed against superiors such as other Vaishnavas, one should be neither humble nor meek. One must take proper steps to counteract such blasphemy. This is the duty of a servant of a Guru and Vaishnavas. Anyone who understands the principle of eternal servitude to the Guru and Vaishnavas will appreciate the action of Srila Jiva Goswami in connection with the so-called scholars' victory over his gurus, Srila Rupa and Srila Sanatana Goswami. So that's one accusation by the Sahajiyas. Another story fabricated to defame Srila Jiva Goswami states that when Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami showed him the newly completed manuscript of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Jiva Goswami thought it would hamper his reputation as a big scholar and therefore threw it into a well. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was greatly shocked, according to the story, and he died immediately. Fortunately, a copy of the manuscript of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita had been kept by a person named Mukunda, and therefore later it was possible to publish the book. Wow, this is a horrible accusation to make against Srila Jiva Goswami. So from this we can understand that not even such great acharyas, and not even Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, not even Krishna and Radharani were spared from criticism of low-class idiots. So, if a bona fide devotee is criticized or insulted, then it is a badge of honor, because that has been the case with all great devotees and acharyas. And if we are in that line, we have to be prepared for this. Now, when Krishna says one has to, tolerate all kinds of dishonor and everything, He will want to see us actually be able to tolerate. He wants to see us do that. So he will engineer situations where, people will come and Pandavas faced so much anyaya, injustice. But they tolerated everything. Haridas Thakur tolerated the beating, Jesus Christ tolerated the crucifixion, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tolerated so many insults. Krishna tolerated so many insults against him. He's still tolerating. We've always been insulting actually. So, and like Shishupal example, we can see how Krishna was tolerating his insults. And Shishupal is not some isolated demon. No, this is the exact thing that we are doing. We are mirror images of Shishupala. All these lifetimes we have gone against Krishna. With Shishupala, 100 times he waited and then he killed him. But of course, that killing means moksha. But we have not only 100 times, 100 million times, 100 trillion times, I don't know how many times we have spoken against Krishna. Still, Krishna is tolerating and tolerating and tolerating. So, a devotee also tolerates. But Krishna does not tolerate the insult to his devotee, and the devotee also does not tolerate insult to Krishna or another devotee. So, this is the loving relationship. Sometimes, when people talk nonsense and when we counter it angrily, they say, "Oh, how? See, look at you, how you become angry. Look at your face. You're not a sadhu. How can you get angry as a sadhu? Sadhu means he must get angry if some nonsense is spoken against the Lord or his devotees. Otherwise, he's not a sadhu. That means Hanuman is not a sadhu. He got angry. He burned the Lanka because Mother Sita and Ram were insulted. So he burned the Lanka. So he's not sadhu. So why is he worshipped in temples then? Anger should be used in the proper place. Um, so anyway, so Jiva Goswami used that anger like that. Now here there is a fabricated story that Jiva Goswami threw Krishnadas Kaviraj's Chaitanya Charitamrita into the well so that his prestige would not be hampered, and Krishnadas Kaviraj died because of a shock. If you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, you will see that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was so old. He was saying that I can die at any moment. I'm 95 years old. He was 95 years old when he was writing Chaitanya Charitamrita. Just imagine. Um, Fortunately, a copy of the manuscript of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita had been kept by a person named Mukunda, and therefore later it was possible to publish the book. This story is another ignominious example of blasphemy against the Guru and Vaishnava. Such a story should never be accepted as authoritative. Because all the authorized records by acharyas never highlighted this incident. And Jiva Goswami, come on, he's personally blessed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He did not do any such thing. They fabricate. Just fabricate. You know. According to another accusation, Srila Jiva Goswami did not approve of the principles of the Parakiya Rasa of Rajadham and therefore supported Swakiya Rasa, showing that Radha and Krishna are eternally married. Actually, when Jiva Goswami was alive, some of his followers disliked the Parakiya Rasa of the gopis. Therefore, Srila Jiva Goswami, for their spiritual benefit, supported Swakiya Rasa, for he could understand that Sahajiyas would otherwise exploit the Parakiya Rasa as they are actually doing at the present time. Unfortunately, in Vrindavan and Navadvip, it has become fashionable among Sahajiyas in their debauchery to find an unmarried sexual partner to live with to execute so called devotional service in Parakiya Rasa. Foreseeing this, Srila Jiva Goswami supported Swakiya Rasa, and later all the Vaishnava Acharyas also approved of it. Srila Jiva Goswami was never opposed to the transcendental Parakiya Rasa, nor has any other Vaishnava disapproved of it. Srila Jiva Goswami strictly followed his predecessor Gurus and Vaishnavas. Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami and Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami accepted him as one of his instructor gurus. Actually, that is also stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami accepted Jiva Goswami as his Shiksha Guru also. And here Prabhupada clarifies why Jiva Goswami explained that Radha and Krishna got married, and it is mentioned in the Brahma Vaivarta Puran that they were married at this place. You can go and see the place in Brahmand Ghat in Vrindavan. Now, that actually there is no difference between Radha and Krishna. Radha Krishna nahe anya. In fact, Radha Krishna pranaya vikritir hladini shaktirasmad ekatmanavapi bhuvi puran deha bhedam gatauto चैतन्याख्यं प्रकटमधुना तद्वयं चैत्यमाप्तं राधाभावद्युतिसुवलितं नौमि कृष्णस्वरूपम् एकात्मानौ अपि भुवि पुरा देहभेदं गतौ तौ चैतन्य आख्यं प्रकटमधुना तद्वयं च ऐक्यम् आप्तं राधाभावद्युतिसुवलितं नौमि कृष्णस्वरूपम्. The loving affairs of Sri Radha and Krishna are transcendental manifestations of the Lord's internal pleasure giving potency. Although Radha and Krishna are one in their identity, just like a husband and wife is one in identity, Radha and Krishna are one in identity. Although Radha and Krishna are one in their identity, previously they separated themselves. Now these two transcendental identities have again united in the form of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. I bow down to him who has manifested himself with the sentiment and complexion of Srimati Radharani, although he is Krishna himself. Now, so there is actually no difference between Radha and Krishna. No, they're both inseparable. It's like you would say a husband and wife are inseparable. But the rasa that they had is parakiya, and that is even more exalted than swakiya. But as Prabhupada has explained already, he already explained that people will take advantage of this parakiya rasa and have illicit relations with women, saying that this is actually devotional service. And also, some people will be disturbed, and for their own spiritual advancement, for not misunderstanding Radharani, he explained it in a way that they can accept it and then they can respect Radha and Krishna. Because Radha and Krishna worship honestly is only for Paramahamsas. Materialistic people actually cannot approach Radha Krishna. Prabhupada said even our Radha Krishna worship in our temple is actually Lakshmi Narayan worship. Because to serve Krishna under the rules and regulations, that is actually Vaikuntha consciousness. Whereas in Golok Vrindavan, there's no rules and regulations. There is just complete spontaneous devotional service. So that is very much different. So although we are, worshipping Radha and Krishna forms, but our mode of worship is like that of worshipping in Lakshmi Narayan. Only Paramahamsas, those who are completely liberated, they can actually worship Radha and Krishna. Ordinary people cannot. So these are the considerations because of which Jiva Goswami appeared to have explained it as Swakiya. But he did not go against Jiva Goswami, Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, who clearly, if you see Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Swakiya, Parakya, all this you will find out. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself said. So, of course, he is not against that. But according to time, place, and circumstances, acharyas behave and conduct themselves in a certain way so as to, encourage and elevate the people around them. So these are the things. These are the three accusations and the corrections also. I mean, the correct perspective on this is explained by Prabhupada here. Let me just take a look at the comment section if there is anything. Rajeshwari Mataji is saying when Krishna was born, doors automatically opened for Vasudeva. Automatic doors. And nowadays there is automatic doors. Lift, it will close by itself, and gates open by themselves. He's saying automatic doors of the. In fact, they automatically unlocked themselves also. They were locked actually. Not just the door was open. It was locked. Automatically unlocked, and so there are some questions and comments here. I will get back to them. Let me see what is the time. 9 something. Okay, let's move on with the next verse. 86. मालिर इच्छाय शाखा बहुत बाड़िला बाड़िया पश्चिम देश सब अच्छा दिला. Wow, this is so prophetic. By the way, translation. By the will of the Supreme Gardener, the branches of Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami grew many times over, expanding throughout the western countries and covering the entire region. Honestly, if you go to the if you go to the Nathdwara in Rajasthan, so in the west, there is the temple of Srinathji, and in Rajasthan, Jaipur, you have Govindaji temple, and these are actually deities of Rupa Goswami. Um, so they were somehow during the Mughals invasions, the deities were carried and they were transported there, and now they are being worshipped with, I mean, such great pomp and show. So in that way, it went to the west, and now expanding throughout the Western countries. Paschima Desha Sabha Acha Dila covered. See how it is nicely. This is actually prophetic. I mean, the Prabhupada went to the Western countries, Paschatya Desha Tarine, and that was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's order. That was what Bhakti Vinod Thakur did when he sent the small book, Lord Chaitanya, his life and precepts, to the Western countries. He actually sent to many libraries, but it was found in the Canadian library, Canadian University Library of what is that university? McGill University in Canada. So that was in the year 1896, the year of birth of Srila Prabhupada. And these are all not coincidental events; they are actually spiritually coordinated events. So they were coordinated by the mercy of Krishna, and it may appear like a coincidence. These are all coordinated events, and all this was pointing to this. And Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, we are Rupanugas. We are actually coming from this branch of Rupa Goswami branch, and this has actually expanded to the Western countries. See how prophetic it is. And Prabhupada even did not even write any purport to this. Like his life is the purport to this. He is the shining, lamp of Rupanuga Sampradaya. Rupanuga se Viruddhapa Siddhanta Dhanta Harine Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Rupanuga. So we are Rupanugas, and his life is the testimony of these verse. आसिंधु नदी तीर आर हिमालय वृंदावन मथुरादि जत तीर्थ होय. Extending to the borders of the river Sindhu and the Himalayan mountain valleys. These two branches expanded throughout India, including all the places of pilgrimage such as Vrindavan, Mathura, and Haridwar. So apparently, now the Sindh River is in Pakistan, and apparently Rupa Goswami's spiritual exploits have gone even to the land of Pakistan. But of course, I think now there is not much of a trace there because of the Muslim, country that it is now. And previously, it was all accessible until Afghanistan. Afghanistan was all the peninsula. I mean, Indian peninsula, and Britishers. They had this whole thing until Afghanistan. It was all part of Bharat, but so this went even into that, under the Himalayan mountain valleys and Sindhu River. You know, it was there, and now of course it has like transcended everything and gone to all continents. Actually, if you see by the magnitude of the expanse of this movement of Rupanuga Sampradaya, this is mind blowing. In Kali Yuga, to achieve this, we are taking it for granted because the movement is already all over the world. Prabhupada is like, no. But honestly, just 70 years ago, nobody knew. No, none of the world was exposed to this. Now, you see what Prabhupada did. I mean, even the acharyas in those times could not do. How powerful he is to do what he has done. দুই শাখার প্রেম ফলে সকল ভাসিল প্রেম ফলাস্বাদে লোক উন্মত্ত হইল. The fruits of love of Godhead were fructified on these two branches. Sorry, the fruits of love of Godhead which fructified on these two branches were distributed in abundance. Tasting these fruits, everyone became mad after them. पश्चिमेर लोक सब मूढ़ अनाचार ताहा प्रचारिलो दोहे भक्ति सदाचार. This is actually very famous, and Prabhupada wrote a commentary on this. Paschimera Lokasabha Mudha Anachar. Taha pracharila dohe bhakti sadachar. The people in general on the western side of India were neither intelligent nor well behaved, but by the influence of Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, they were trained in devotional service and good behavior. Now, now, if you see in the western side of India, the Bombay is there, Mumbai. That is the hub of Bollywood. All kinds of bad behavior and everything is propagated from the western side. And Hollywood is even further west, the pioneers of bad acting. I mean, bad example. You see, and Prabhupada actually quoted this verse in one of the Srimad Bhagavatam purports. I will take you to there also. Purport. Although it is not only in Western India that people were contaminated by association with Muslims, it is a fact that the farther west one goes in India, the more he will find the people to be fallen from the Vedic culture. Now, in Muslim culture, of course, Islam means, of course, if you really follow Islam, you will be actually pure. You will actually come to a standard of purity at least. But nowadays, nobody follows. I mean, they had their own understanding of their own religion. And cow killing goes on rampantly. Actually, it's not allowed, even in their own religion. But they do it anyway. Um, so, and that kind of civilization is unacceptable. It's completely mlecha dharma. So, although it is in the western side of India, it is not only in Western India that people are contaminated by association with Muslims. It is fact that farther west one goes in India, the more he will find the people to be fallen from the Vedic culture. Kerala is another example where it is, of course, in the southern part, and many nice temples are there also. But it has also fallen to the Western influence because it's also kind of on the western side, southwestern India, um, Bharat. But you see, there also, it's actually in India that's the largest exporter of beef, largest state exporting beef. I think maybe now Telangana and Kerala, I think are on par, or even Kerala is even higher, or something like that. So, and Gujarat also is quite a big contributor, I think. All western side, you see. Of course, Telangana is on the eastern side. But actually, if you see, Hyderabad, Secunderabad, these were actually handled by the Muslims, Pathan Muslims. In fact, this Hyderabad and all that was supposed to be part of Pakistan after independence. And with great effort, Lal Bahadur Shastri, Lal Bahadur Shastri, this no, what is his name in Gujarat? His big statue. What is it? Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel and all of them. They somehow were convinced it to remain in India. Otherwise, it was supposed to be a Pakistan post. So there was a heavy Muslim influence, and slaughterhouses became common. And in this way, one can find that kind of culture there. And even in the same thing with Kerala, there's a lot of Christians and Muslims there. Both eat beef, and you can see that how it is, So anyway, until 5,000 years ago, when the entire planet was under the control of Maharaj Parikshit, the Vedic culture was current everywhere. Gradually, however, people were influenced by non-Vedic culture and they lost sight of how to behave in connection with devotional service. Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami very kindly preached the Bhakti cult in Western India, and following in their footsteps, the propagators of the Chaitanya cult in the Western countries are spreading the Sankirtan movement and inculcating the principles of Vaishnava behavior, thus purifying and reforming many persons who were previously accustomed to the culture of Mlechas and Yavanas. He's actually referring to himself. Following in the footsteps, the propagators of Chaitanya cult. Who's the propagators? He is the propagator, singular. But out of his own humility, he said propagators, um, not highlighting importance to him, according importance to himself. But you see, we can actually know that it's him. And of course, under him, all his disciples and everybody, they did. So thus, purifying and reforming many persons who were previously accustomed to the culture of Mlechas and Yavanas. All of our devotees in the Western countries give up their old habits of illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling. Of course, 500 years ago, these practices were unknown in India, at least in Eastern India. But unfortunately, at present, all of India has been victimized by these non Vedic principles, which are sometimes even supported by the government. 4:25:52. This is actually the verse in which purport that verse was quoted. On the western side was a gate named Asuri. Through that gate, King Puranjan used to go to the city of Gramaka, accompanied by his friend Durmada. So this is all part of an allegorical story of King Puranjan, where western side, western gate, and the city of Gramaka and the friend Durmada. These are all allegorical descriptions, but actually all this means, um, you know, one's own his own mental condition actually. But let's see. Of course, if you read this whole story is a very allegorical story, cryptic story. He's telling in one way, but actually he means he's referring to his own life. This Prachina Barhi. Narada Muni was speaking all this King Puranjan story. But anyway, we'll read the purport. The gate on the western side of the city was known as Asuri because it is especially meant for the Asuras. The word Asura refers to those who are interested in sense gratification, especially in sex life, to which they are overly attracted. So Asuras are not some, like hideous looking demons, like fangs and, horns and evil face, like very fearful face and horrible features and, with, you know, dreadly Dracula like features or whatever. No, they can be very handsome. Ravana was extremely handsome, but he was an Asura. Extremely strong, extremely talented, very sweet talker. Everything was A1 about him. But he was an Asura. Because he was so interested, so addicted to sense gratification that he used to rape people even in heavenly planets. He raped Rambha also, who's the wife of Nalakuvara, son of Kuvera. He raped her. And he raped many women. The only reason he did not rape Sita, Mother Sita, was because he got cursed by Nalakuvara. The next time he lays his hands and violates a woman, he will die on the spot. So just to be on the safe side, although he was not really afraid of the demigods or their curses, but just in case, what if it is true? So he kept himself on the safe side. So he did not violate Sita. He wanted her to accept him so that it will be consensual sex. That's what he wanted with Sita, Mother Sita. But of course, she wouldn't even in thought deviate from her Lord Ram. So because of her anger, everything was finished for Ravana. But this is the point. Asura means who is interested in sense gratification, specifically in sex life, to which they are overly attracted. Thus, Puranjan, the living entity, enjoys himself to his greatest satisfaction by means of the genitals. Consequently, he used to go to the place known as Gramaka. Material sense gratification is also called Gramya, and the place where sex life is indulged in to a great extent is called Gramaka. So, Gramya Katha na kohibe, Gramya Vartha na shunibe. Um, so, this is an instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Don't listen to worldly talk, don't engage in worldly talk. So, worldly talk, what is that? How one has become powerful politically, how one has enjoyed, many women, I mean, um, and money, fame, and women. This is material. This is the sum and substance of material talk. You may talk about financial all this, but all this is coming back to money and political conquests or sexual exploits. Like the movies are all about these sexual exploits, like all this kind of romantic or whatever. And then there is political, and there are sports which are also about influence, which are all about control, conquest, although in a playful way. In different ways, they want to enjoy these things. Dhana, Jana, Sundari. This is what they want. When going to Gramaka, Puranjan used to be accompanied by his friend Durmada. The word Vishaya refers to the four bodily necessities of life: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. The word Durmadena may be analyzed in this way. Dur means dushta or sinful, and mother means madness. Every living entity who is in contact with material nature is called mother or mad. It is said, পিশাচি পাইলে যেন মতিচ্ছন্ন হয় মায়াগ্রস্ত জীবের হয় সেই ভাব উদয়. Prema Vivarta by Jagadananda Pandit. When a person is haunted, he becomes practically insane. When one is in an insane condition, he speaks all kinds of nonsense. To become engaged in sense gratification, one has to accept a friend who is durmada or badly affected by the material disease. So basically, his mind was durmada. That was his friend. And Gramaka is a place where he enjoys, and that was the Western Gate. So this Western, Prabhupada actually explains now. The word Asuri Nama Paschadvaha, if you see the words itself, Asuri Nama Paschadvas Tayayati Puranjanaha Gramakam Nama Vishayam Durmadena Samanvitaha. The words Asuri Nama Paschadvaha are significant in another sense. The sunrise is first visible from the eastern side, the Bay of Bengal, and gradually it progresses toward the west. It is practically experienced that people in the West are more addicted to sense gratification. Now, geographical reference here. Now, East is considered, Bay of Bengal is considered the East, and that is the start of the East. Now, in today's world, the East is like after New Zealand. The sunrise happens first in New Zealand, and then Australia, and then all the West. I mean, Japan and all these countries, China, and then Singapore, and then India, and then goes to the West. That's the current world order. But according to Vedic this thing view, the Bay of Bengal, the eastern border of India, that is the east, and others they're the west. And so in the west there would come also the Australia and New Zealand, which are also come sometimes referred to as Western countries, although they are in the east. Um, and that is because of this Bay of Bengal. It was the east, and then everything was the west. So anyway, coming back to the point here, the sunrise is first visible from the eastern side of the Bay of Bengal and gradually it progresses toward the west. It is practically experienced that people in the West are more addicted to sense gratification. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself has certified Paschimera Lokasava Mudha Anachar. This is the verse. Adi 10.89. The more one goes to the western side, the more he will find people disinterested in spiritual life. He will find them behaving against the Vedic standards. Because of this, people living in the West are more addicted to sense gratification. In this Bhagavatam, it is confirmed Asuri Nama Paschadvaha. In other words, the population on the western side is interested in an Asuric civilization. That is a materialistic way of life. Lord Chaitanya consequently wanted this Krishna consciousness movement to be preached on the western side of the world so that people addicted to sense gratification might be benefited by his teachings. So this is a reference to that. शास्त्र दृष्टि कैल लुप्त तीर्थेर उद्धार वृंदावने कैल श्रीमूर्ति सेवार प्रचार 10.90. In accordance with the directions of the revealed scriptures, both Goswamis excavated the lost places of pilgrimage and inaugurated the worship of deities in Vrindavan. Purport. The spot where we now find Sri Radhakunda was an agricultural field during the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Imagine. A small reservoir of water was there, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bathed in that water and pointed out that originally Radhakund existed in that location. Following his directions, Sri Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami renovated Radhakunda. This is one of the brilliant examples of how the Goswamis excavated lost places of pilgrimage. Similarly, it is through the endeavor of the Goswamis that all the important temples in Vrindavan were established. Originally, there were 7 important Gaudiya Vaishnava temples established in Vrindavan, namely the Madan Mohan Temple, Govinda Temple, Gopinath Temple, Sri Radharaman Temple, Radha Shamsundar Temple, Radha Damodar Temple, and Gokulananda Temple. So these were all the work of the Goswamis, especially Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis, and even Jiva Goswami. Mahaprabhur Priya Bhritya Raghunath Das Sarvatya Jikoila Prabhur Padeta Levas. Now we are going into the topic of Raghunath Das Goswami. Maybe we can go a little more. Translation. Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, the 46th branch of the tree, was one of the most dear servants of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He left all his material possessions to surrender completely unto the Lord and live at his lotus feet. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhashya. Anubhashya, what is Anubhashya? It's Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's commentary on Chaitanya Charitamrita. It is called Anubhashya. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur's commentary on summary of the Chaitanya Charitamrita is called Amrita Pravaha Bhashya. This is Anubhashya. So we should note these things as we read. Maybe in the initial stages we won't understand. But later on, as we read, we will get to know that actually this means his commentary on this thing. We should understand these things. Writes in his Anubhashya, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami was most probably born in the year 1416 Shakabda, which is 1494 AD, which is about 8 years after the advent of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in a Kayastha family as the son of Govardhan Majumdar, who was the younger brother of the then Zamindar, Hiranya Majumdar. The village where he took birth is known as Sri Krishnapur. On the railway line between Calcutta and Burdwan is a station named Trisha Bagha, now known as Adi Saptagram. And about 1.5 miles away is the village of Sri Krishnapur, where the parental home of Sri Raghunath Das Goswami was situated. A temple of Sri Sri Radha Govinda is still there. In front of the temple is a large open area, but no large hall for devotees to assemble. A rich Calcutta gentleman named Harisharan Ghosh, who resided in the Shimla quarter, recently repaired the temple. The entire temple compound is surrounded by walls, and in a small room just to the side of the temple is a small platform on which Raghunath Das Goswami used to worship the deity. By the side of the temple is the dying river Saraswati. You see all these geographical references to these places so that the exact thing doesn't happen again. So, Krishna Leela pastime places were all lost and later excavated by the Goswamis, especially Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis, on the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, just so that details won't be missed in the future, so that they can refer to these Anubhashya and all these authoritative texts, and if at all they get misplaced or forgotten, they can again be um, revisited by devotees and again revived. So therefore, in Anubhashya, you will find a lot of geographical references: what railway line, what village, and what south, west, how much distance. All these things you will find, because in modern context, according to his time, wherever he was accustomed to, whatever he was seeing at the time, railway lines were prominent then. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu times, no railway line. The Britishers have put that in. So those references. So because over time things changed, rivers also changed courses, and so sometimes there will be a redistribution of the civilization there. So to give a more contemporary geographical reference, so Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur always gives these references in his Anubhashya. So the forefathers of Sri Raghunath Das Goswami were all Vaishnavas and were very rich men. His spiritual master at home was Yadunandana Acharya. Although Raghunath Das was a family man, he had no attachment for his estate and wife. Seeing his tendency to leave home, his father and uncle engaged special bodyguards to watch over him, but nevertheless he managed to escape their vigilance and went away to Jagannath Puri to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This incident took place in the year 1439 Shakabda, which is 1517 AD. Raghunath Das Goswami compiled 3 books, namely Stavamala or Stavavali, Dana Charita, and Mukta Charita. Now, actually, I wanted to just make a small comment here. 1439 Shakabda of 1517 AD. Now, this AD means after Christ. I mean, what is that? There was some full form for that, AD. So, before Christ, BC, and AD. So, the whole years, our years, the reference point is Jesus Christ. You see how Western people have taken hold of the time scale is based on Jesus, and anything before Jesus is like prehistoric times. Therefore, we as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu followers, we have Gaurabda. Just like they have Shakabda is also one of them. which is I don't know what the reference is, somewhere in the middle of medieval India at the time. But then Gaurabda is our Gaudiya Vaishnavas. We follow from the um, birth of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. 5,000 years ago, Krishna was there. All these are considered like BC. For us, it's like, oh, way far back, BC. But that is because we are accustomed to this 2000-year time scale where Jesus Christ is the beginning of all time kind of thing. Like, he's the reference of time, his birth. So, how much it is based in the Christian ideology, this whole Gregorian calendar, um, you can see how we're all influenced by that because of the British influence and everything. But anyway, um, so Raghunath Das Goswami compiled three books, namely Stavamala or Stavavali, Dana Charita, and Mukta Charita. Actually, he wrote more works, literary works like Mana Shiksha, which is just a 12 verse book, like Nectar of Instruction, which has 11 verses. Mana Shiksha, which is basically instructions to the mind, translated. Um, that is 12 verses only. That also he wrote. He wrote Raghunath Das Goswami. Not mentioned here particularly, but it is written. He lived a long time, residing for most of his life at Radha Kunda. The place where Raghunath Das Goswami performed his devotional service still exists by Radha Kunda. This was the Bhajan Kutira of Raghunath Das Goswami. He almost completely gave up eating and therefore he was very skinny and of weak health. His only concern was to chant the holy name of the Lord. He gradually reduced his sleeping until he was almost not sleeping at all. It is said that his eyes were always full of tears. When Srinivas Acharya went to see Raghunath Das Goswami, the Goswami blessed him by embracing him. Srinivas Acharya requested his blessings for preaching in Bengal, and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami granted them. In the Gauraganudesh Deepika 186th verse, it is stated that Sri Raghunath Das Goswami was formerly the gopi named Rasamanjari. Sometimes it is said that he was Ratimanjari. प्रभु समर्पिला तारे स्वरूपेर हाथे प्रभुर गुप्त सेवा कोइलो स्वरूपेर साथे. When Raghunath Das Goswami approached Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Jagannath Puri, the Lord entrusted him to the care of Swarup Damodar, his secretary. Thus, they both engaged in the confidential service of the Lord. Purport. This confidential service was the personal care of the Lord. Swarup Damodar, acting as his secretary, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's secretary, attended to the Lord's baths, meals, rest, and massages, and Raghunath Das Goswami assisted him. In effect, Raghunath Das Goswami acted as the assistant secretary of the Lord, of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I mean, just imagine to be the assistant secretary of God. And that's what an Acharya is. He is a personal secretary of the Lord. षोडश वत्सर कैल अंतरंग सेवन स्वरूपेर अंतर्धाने आयला वृंदावन. He rendered confidential service to the Lord for 16 years at Jagannath Puri, and after the disappearance of both the Lord and Swarup Damodar, he left Jagannath Puri and went to Vrindavan. वृंदावने दुई भाईर चरण देखिया गोवर्धने त्यजीव देह भृगुपात करिया. Srila Raghunath Das Goswami intended to go to Vrindavan to see the lotus feet of Rupa and Sanatan, and then gave up his life by jumping from Govardhan Hill. So that was his intention, to give up his life by jumping from Govardhan Hill. Purport. Jumping from the top of Govardhan Hill is a system of suicide especially performed by saintly persons. Now you may say, what? Another suicide is they would go under the Rath, the Jagannath Puri chariot wheels, and during Rath Yatra. That was another system of suicide performed by saintly persons. Sanatan Goswami also wanted to do that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no, your body is mine. You have no right to do whatever you want with the body. You have to do what I asked you to do. That is surrender. So suicide means, oh, I want to kill my body. But it's not your body. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "You have already dedicated your body to me, so it is my property. You have to do as I ask you. You are just my slave, and I order you not to commit suicide." So, jumping from the top of Govardhan Hill is a system of suicide especially performed by saintly persons. After the disappearance of Lord Chaitanya and Swarup Damodar, Raghunath Das Goswami keenly felt separation from these two exalted personalities and therefore decided to give up his life by jumping from Govardhan Hill in Vrindavan. Before doing so, however, he wanted to see the lotus feet of Srila Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. এইটা নিশ্চয় করে আইলা বৃন্দাবনে এইটা নিশ্চয় করে আইলা বৃন্দাবনে আসি রূপ সনাতনের বন্দিল চরণে. Thus, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami came to Vrindavan, visited Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami and offered them his obeisances. तबे दुई भाई तारे मरिते ना दिल निज तृतीय भाई करे निकटे राखिल. His two brothers, however, did not allow him to die. They accepted him as their third brother and kept him in their company. महाप्रभुर लीला जत बाहिर अंतर दुई भाई तार मुखे सुने निरंतर. Because Raghunath Das Goswami was an assistant to Swarup Damodar, he knew much about the external and internal features of the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. Thus, the two brothers, Rup and Sanatan, always used to hear of this from him. Now, you will not find much mention of Raghunath Das Goswami during the transcendental madness that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, exhibited during his stay in Jagannath Puri. He was 16 years in Jagannath Puri. Basically, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there 17 years as sannyasi. And for 16 years, our Raghunath Das Goswami was there, but not much mention of him was there. It was just, as a humble servant, he was, doing everything, but not prominently mentioned anywhere in Chaitanya Leela of in Jagannath Puri. Here and there some mention, but not much. Not a prominent figure during the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But after that, he became, more well known in Vrindavan especially. अन्न जल त्याग कैल अन्य कथन पल दुई तीन माठा करे न भक्षण. Raghunath Das Goswami gradually gave up all food and drink, but a few drops of buttermilk. Except for a few drops of buttermilk, he gave up all kinds of food and drink. And that too, he would take only once in every 2 days, kind of thing. That buttermilk also. सहस्र दंडवत करे लय लक्षणाम दुई सहस्र वैष्णवेर नित्य परणाम. Wow. Look at his sadhana. We have 16 rounds, right? What he has, this is his sadhana. सहस्र दंडवत करे लय लक्षणाम दुई सहस्र वैष्णवेर नित्य परणाम. As a daily duty, he regularly offered 1,000 obeisances to the Lord, chanted at least 100,000 holy names, and offered obeisances to 2,000 Vaishnavas in one day. 100,000 holy names means 64 rounds. 64 rounds a day chanting, 1,000 obeisances to the Lord, and 2,000 Vaishnavas he would offer obeisances. He would bow down at the feet of Vaishnavas, 2,000 Vaishnavas every single day. He would have to find Vaishnavas to bow down. Look at him. And it's not that he gathers all 2,000 Vaishnavas, okay, all come here, one time, Dandavat. No, not shortcut. We'll actually go to 2,000 Vaishnavas and pay obeisances. The whole day is taken up by this one. Just look at him. 2,000 people to meet in a day and pay obeisances to them. Your back will give way if you do that. But you see, and he was not even eating much. And he was doing this. Spiritual power. I mean, even materially for that matter, Hiranyakashipu did a tapasya for 100 years of the demigods to please Lord Brahma. And in the course of that time, his body was completely eaten up by ants and other insects and creatures. And he was only left to the bones. He only had bones in his body. Still he was sustained. He sustained his life. He was circulating the air within the bones. And he stayed alive. Brahma was astonished to see his condition. How are you still alive after reduced to bones? Bones means I'm not talking about, the very thin that he became bony. No, skin was gone, everything was gone, just bones were there. Nothing, he was just skeleton. like a dead body skeleton, like that he was, but he was still living. Skin was all eaten away, flesh eaten away, organs of his body were eaten away, but still he was alive. And why I'm quoting that? I mean, even for a material tapasya, he did such a austerity. So what I'm saying is, especially with Raghunath Das Goswami, you may wonder. I mean, he was not even eating buttermilk every 2 days, like some drops of buttermilk. What it can satisfy? What strength you can get from that? And if you don't have sleep and everything, your immunity system will go down and everything will go down. And it's said here that he was actually weak, um, very sick. That is also stated here. But he was doing all these things, 2,000 dandavats a day, 1,000, so 3,000 obeisances every day. We are already thinking, oh, before Kirtan one bow down, curtain open one bow down, curtain close one bow down, Bhagavat, Srimad Bhagavatam one bow down, and Vaishnava one bow down, and these already we are thinking, okay, it's too much now, come on. But look at Raghunath Das Goswami. His sadhana was this. रात्रि दिने राधा कृष्णेर मानस सेवन प्रहर एक महाप्रभुर चरित्र कथन. Day and night he rendered service within his mind to Radha Krishna, and for 3 hours a day he discoursed about the character of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Rupa and Sanatana Goswami used to ask him about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So 3 hours he used to speak every day about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and 3,000 dandavats, 1,000 to the Lord, 2,000 to the devotees. This again, Madbhakta Puja Bhadika. That means Krishna says, worshipping Vaishnava is greater than worshipping me. So he did 2,000 for Vaishnavas, 1,000 for the Lord. Look at that. And chanted, of course, the holy names and talked about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for 3 hours. How did he manage his time? He reduced his eating and sleeping and everything. So he was actually, through him, through Raghunath Das Goswami, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited the quality of renunciation. How renounced a devotee should be. Through each of the Goswamis, he manifested a different quality, like scholarship from Rupa Goswami and Jiva Goswami, and excavating of holy places, and Sanatana Goswami also scholarship, and what else? The literary incarnation. I mean, the literary work was also done by some list was given. So all different Goswamis were manifesting different, and all not only Goswamis, even other devotees. They were manifesting different specialities, spiritual opulences. Like Narottam Das Thakur. Narottam Das Thakur, he wrote songs, but he also he had taught Mridanga, how to play Mridanga. And 4 sampradayas are coming from Narottam Das Thakur alone, Mridanga sampradayas. Mridanga playing, how to play Mridanga in the Kirtan. And how to sing in the Kirtan, the tunes, the according to the time of the day, Ashtaprahara. All these things are extensive knowledge. So all these things were there. Of course, Prabhupada only gave us the essential aspects of all these teachings and all this, wealth of knowledge, which is sufficient for our own deliverance. But each of them were actually specialized in a particular, thing. Like Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, Sakshat Vairagya Murti. He is a Vairagya Murti, it is personified renunciation. So like that. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, personified scholar. I mean, not personified scholar, scholarship. The amount of learning. And Prabhupada is he is the personification of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prediction of preaching. He is a personification of preaching, Prabhupada. Whole planet within 12 years conquered. So through each devotee, he, manifested certain qualities. So day and night he rendered service within his mind to Radha and Krishna, and for 3 hours a day he discoursed about character of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Purport: we have many things to learn about bhajan or worship of the Lord. Bhajan means not just sit down and sing. Bhajan means to worship the Lord. Bhakti, bhaj is the root word. Bhakti is a derivative of that bhaj word. It's from the Panini grammar, Panini Sutra. So if you see the root word and the etymology of this whole thing, bhajan comes from the word bhakti. So bhajan means worship. So we have many things to learn about bhajan or worship of the Lord by following in the footsteps of Raghunath Das Goswami. All the Goswamis engaged in such transcendental activities as described by Srinivas Acharya in his poem about them. Krishnot Kirtana Gana Nartana Paro Premamritam Bhonidhi. So in that song, Shad Goswami Ashtakam, he has summarized the activities of the six Goswamis in Vrindavan, what they were doing and what was their life like. So following in the footsteps of Raghunath Das Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, one has to execute devotional service very strictly, specifically by chanting the holy name of the Lord. That chanting we have to absolutely take up very seriously. तीन संध्या राधा कुंडे अपतित स्नान व्रजवासी वैष्णव करे आलिंगन मान. Sri Raghunath Das Goswami took 3 baths daily in the Radha Kund lake. As soon as he found Vaishnava residing in Vrindavan, he would embrace him and give him all respect. सार्ध सप्त प्रहर करे भक्ति साधने चारिदंड निद्रा से हो न है कौन दिने. He engaged himself in devotional service for more than 22 and a half hours a day. And for less than 2 hours he slept, although on some days that also was not possible. 22 and a half hours every day he was engaging in devotional service. Oof. ताहार साधन रीति सुनीते चमत्कार Say Rupa Raghunath Prabhu Jay Amar. I am struck with wonder when I hear about the devotional service he executed. I accept Sri Rupa Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami as my guides. Purport. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami accepted Raghunath Das Goswami as his special guide. Therefore, at the end of every chapter, he says, Sri Rupa Raghunatha Padijar Ash Chaitanya Charitamrita Kohe Krishnadas. Sometimes it is misunderstood that by using the word Raghunath, he wanted to offer his respectful obeisances to Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, for it is sometimes stated that Raghunath Bhatta Goswami was his initiating spiritual master. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami does not approve of this statement. He does not accept Raghunath Bhatta Goswami as a spiritual master of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. ইহা সবার জয়ছে হইল প্রভুর মিলন আগে বিস্তারিয়া তাহা করিব বর্ণন. I shall later explain very elaborately how all these devotees met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that comes in the Madhya Lila and all of that. Sri Gopal Bhatta Eka Shakha Sarvottam Rupa Sanatana Sange Jar Premalapan. Now we are going to Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Oh, okay. We have to wind up the class in a while. Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, the 47th branch, was one of the great and exalted branches of the tree. He always engaged in discourses about love of Godhead in the company of Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. Purport. Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami was the son of Venkata Bhatt, a resident of Srirangam in South India, Tamil Nadu. So Gopal Bhatta Goswami came from Tamil Nadu. And so Rupa and Sanatan came originally, their descendants, their ancestors came from Karnataka. So a lot of South Indian presence in the Goswamis and in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, although they, went to Bengal and Vrindavan and all of that. Of course, Rupa and Sanatan were from Bengal only, but their ancestors were from Karnataka. Gopal Bhatta formerly belonged to the disciplic succession of the Ramanuja Sampradaya, but later became part of the Gaudiya Sampradaya. In the year 1433 Shakabda or 1511 AD, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was touring South India, he stayed for 4 months during the period of Chaturmasya at the house of Venkata Bhatt, who then got the opportunity to serve the Lord to his heart's content. Gopal Bhatta also got the opportunity to serve the Lord at this time. So at that time, Gopal Bhatta Goswami was a small boy. Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami was later initiated by his uncle, the great sannyasi Prabodhananda Saraswati. Again, Prabodhananda Saraswati is a great acharya in our Gaudiya line, but again, he is also from South India. From Tamil Nadu, looks like, because his uncle. Both the father and the mother of Gopal Bhatta Goswami were extremely fortunate, for they dedicated their entire lives to the service of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They allowed Gopal Bhatta Goswami to go to Vrindavan, and they gave up their lives thinking of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That means Venkata Bhatt and his wife gave up their lives thinking of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Lord Chaitanya was later informed that Gopal Bhatta Goswami had gone to Vrindavan and met Sri Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, he was very pleased and he advised Sri Rupa and Sanatan to accept Gopal Bhatta Goswami as their younger brother and take care of him. Sri Sanatan Goswami, out of his great affection for Gopal Bhatta Goswami, compiled the Vaishnava Smriti named Haribhakti Vilas and published it under his name. Under the instruction of Sri Rupa and Sanatan, Gopal Bhatta Goswami installed one of the seven principal deities of Vrindavan, the Radha Raman deity. You can go to Radha Raman temple even now. And Gopal Bhatta Goswami actually established that temple, the deity. The Sevites or priests at Radharaman temple belong to the Gaudiya Sampradaya. When Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami took permission from all the Vaishnavas before writing Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Gopal Bhatta Goswami also gave him his blessings, but he requested him not to mention his name in the book. Therefore, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has mentioned Gopal Bhatta Goswami only very cautiously in one or two passages of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Srila Jiva Goswami has written in the beginning of his Tattva Sandarbha, a devotee from southern India who was born of a Brahmana family who was born of a Brahmana family and was a very intimate friend of Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, has written a book that he has not compiled systematically. Therefore, I, a tiny living entity known as Jiva, am trying to present the book systematically, consulting the direction of great personalities like Madhvacharya, Sridhar Swami, Ramanujacharya, and other senior Vaishnavas in the disciplic succession. Wow. Sandarbha. So, this is referring to Gopal Bhatta Goswami. In the beginning of the Bhagavat Sandarbha, there are similar statements by Srila Jiva Goswami. Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami compiled a book called Satkriya Sar Deepika, edited the Haribhakti Vilas, wrote a foreword to the Shat Sandarbha, and a commentary on the Krishna Karanamrita, which is what? What is Krishna Karanamrita? Krishna Karanamrita is the book by Bilumangal Thakur, where he wrote so many nice verses about Krishna. And in fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard all these verses in his transcendental madness, and Sarup Damodar used to quote these verses according to his, ecstatic moods. To quote according to philosophical reference, I mean, philosophically is one thing, like to make a philosophical point. But to quote according to the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and to accentuate the mood and to assist him in that mood, to quote verses like that is another level. You have to understand the mind of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and to quote verses that will augment his feelings even more. That was Swarup Damodar. That was what he was doing as a secretary. One of the many things that he was doing as a secretary. And he would quote from Krishna Karanamrita of Bilamangal Thakur and other books as well, like Geet Govinda of Jayadev Goswami and also Bhagavatam and other such verses. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself also quoted from Krishna Karanamrita many times. And he installed the Radharaman deity in Vrindavan. In the Gaur Ganodesh Deepika 184th verse, it is mentioned that his previous name in the pastimes of Lord Krishna was Anangamanjari. Anangamanjari. Sometimes he is also said to have been an incarnation of Gunamanjari. Srinivas Acharya and Gopinath Pujari were two of his disciples. शंकरारण्य आचार्य शंकरारण्य आचार्य वृक्षेर एक शाखा मुकुंद काशीनाथ रुद्र उपशाख लेखा. Acharya Shankararanya was considered the 48th branch of the original tree. From him proceeded the sub branches known as Mukunda, Kashinath, and Rudra. But I think we will stop here. So until 105th verse we have done, we will go from 106th verse. This is the sannyas name of Sri Vishwarupa, elder brother of Vishwambhar, the original name of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Oh, that's very interesting. So we will read about this in the next session. So today we have covered a lot of verses actually, 20 verses, 21. Okay, so I will take any questions or any comments that are there. Oh, Subhadra Sundari Mataji is here. Dandavat pranams. Brick blocks, Manudas. Vishal Patil. Disciple succession means continuing parampara. Disciplic succession. That is Siksha Parampara, Prabhuji. Siksha, Diksha, everything. What is that? Vishram, Krishna Dikshadi Shikshanam. Vishrambena Guru Seva. Guru Padashrayas Tasmat. Krishna Dikshadi Shikshanam. Vishrambena Guru Seva. Sadhu Vartmanu Vartanam. Tadharma Pritha Bhogadi Tyagah Krishnasya Hetave. 7:30:31. Guru Padashrayas Tasmat. Krishna Dikshadi Shikshanam. Both should be there. Diksha and Shiksha. But yes, I mean the knowledge. Viduhu. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarsho viduhu. Viduhu means to know. Means Shiksha. So in fact, Diksha also means Shiksha. Diksha means not just the name only. Diksha means Shiksha. What is Diksha? Divyam Jnanam Yato Dadyat Kuryat Papasya Sankshayam Tatha Diksheti Sa Prokta Deshikais Tattva Kovidai. This is a verse from um, Bhakti Sandarbha of Jiva Goswami, 283rd verse, I think. Bhakti Sandarbha, 283rd verse. See? Diksha is the process by which one can awaken his transcendental knowledge and vanquish all reactions caused by sinful activity. A person expert in the study of the revealed scriptures knows this process as Diksha. So, of course, there is a ceremony of Diksha, but actually, Diksha involves the entire thing. Ceremony is the official um, thing, official ceremony, but the real Diksha is the transference of divine knowledge. Divyam Jnanam Yato Dadyat Kuryat Papasya Sankshayam. And if you see chapter 4, text 34 and 37, this Divyam Jnanam Yato Dadyat is explained in 434 and Kuryat Papasya Sankshayam is explained in 437 of Bhagavad Gita. So if we go there, तद्विद्धि प्रणिपातेन परिप्रश्नेन सेवया उपदेक्ष्यन्ति ते ज्ञानम ज्ञानिनस्तत्त्वदर्शिनः. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. So this is Divyam Jnanam Yato Dadyat. Dadyat means to give, to impart. Then Kuryat Papasya Sankshayam. So when one gets this knowledge, you see here, 36 we will go first. अपिचेदस्य पापेभ्यः सर्वेभ्यः पापकृत्तमः सर्वं ज्ञानप्लवेनैव वृजिनं सन्तरिष्यसि. In the reference to a boat is given here, which means that boats were existing way back. Even if you are considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, when you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of miseries. Now, next verse, even more emphatically. यथैधांसि समिद्धोऽग्निर्भस्मसात् कुरुते अर्जुन ज्ञानाग्निः सर्वकर्माणि भस्मसात् कुरुते तथा. As a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities. This is Kuryat Papasya Sankshayam. This is Diksha. Diksha process involves Siksha. Diksha without Siksha is useless. What is that? That's a namesake Diksha. Namamatra Diksha. No. A real Diksha means involves Siksha. So we are getting the knowledge from Prabhupada's books. That is actually Diksha. But of course, the ceremony also has to be performed. See, one way, Diksha, the knowledge coming is in one way, from Guru to disciple. But the disciple's agreement to surrender to the Guru and do what the Guru wants him to do, be a complete slave of the Guru. What is that? Karishye vachanam tava, ei mantra siddhi. So The ceremony of Diksha means, yes, Prabhupada, Karishya Vachanam Tava. This is the meaning of becoming a disciple. Without that, and when did the Karishya Vachanam Tava come? When he received knowledge from Krishna, Arjuna said Karishya Vachanam Tava, and that was the end of Bhagavad Gita. That's it. The next verses there are 1873 is Karishya Vachanam Tava, 74 to 78 is a glorification of Bhagavad Gita by Sanjaya, concluding verses of Bhagavad Gita, glorifying of Bhagavad Gita. But the Bhagavad Gita instruction of Krishna finished at that point. Karishya Vachanam Tava. So that is initiation. When I agree, so on the spiritual master side, he is giving me knowledge, yes. But when will I agree? When I agree, yes, now it is a formal contract where the deliverance of the disciple is guaranteed by the spiritual master so long he follows the instructions of the spiritual master. So that is parampara. Yes, it is based on knowledge, but it's also based on the sincerity of the disciple in executing the order of the spiritual master. The order of the spiritual master is the continuance of the parampara. So whoever carries that order, he is in the parampara. Then any next? Ayush Sharma. Why Krishna is bombarding difficulties in my life? It's like saying, why is the judge giving me a sentence of 20 years? Why? Why am I going to be punished for 20 years in the jail? The judge is not envious of you, envious of the criminal. He is just giving the judgment based on the criminal's actions. So similarly, Krishna is bombarding difficulties means he is making us realize that we have done something wrong. What is that wrong? We have gone against him. And basically, everything that follows is always wrong. Because when you start a mathematical problem and you start the first step, you get a wrong result. And you take that result and go to the second step and continue. The entire answer will be wrong. Although the entire, even after the first step mistake, if you do every step after that correctly, you will end up with a completely wrong answer. So, however one may be a moralist in this world, if he gets the first step wrong, that he is not a servant of Krishna, even if he does entirely correct everything else, the end result will be wrong. The end result will be miserable. So similarly, our original mistake, even though we may think we are very pious or we may be very honest or something like that, hard work, this and that, all those are good qualities, no doubt. But if the first thing is misplaced, if we are not surrendered to Krishna, everything is a fault. So Krishna is, when he puts in a difficulty, that is to change us. Like I always many times said, this is somebody came up with this quote. We want God to change our situation, not understanding that God engineered the situation to change us. So we are the ones who have to change. What is the change? The change is that instead of becoming an idiot and going away from Krishna, rascal, we have to now change and become a Karishya Vachanam Tava, a servant of Krishna. Then everything. Krishna says that. Krishna says, all the difficulties will be gone. I will remove everything, all the papa. This is all reaction to previous sinful activity, right? Now, 1866. सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वां सर्वपापेभ्यो मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Ma shucha. Don't worry. So, but what is the thing he's asking? Abandon all varieties of religion. Just surrender unto me. What is surrender? You have to surrender to the spiritual master. And how to surrender to the spiritual master? Then you have to know what the spiritual master wants of you. And then you have to do according to. So, first of all, it all starts with reading Prabhupada's books. and then associating with devotees, and then Ado Shraddha, Tato Sadhu Sangha, Tam Bhajana Kriya. Bhajana Kriya is when we will get actually initiated, next stage. And then Anarthani Vritti, all the dirty things in the heart will go. Abhadrani Vidhunoti, Hridyantasthohi, Hridyantasthohi Abhadrani Vidhunoti Suhrit Satam. By how? By listening to the Bhagavatam. Shrinvatam Swakatha Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtanam. So, this is how it all starts. So, please start reading Prabhupada's books. All your miseries, all your troubles will go away. Step by step, they will go away. So, please read Prabhupada's books. Hmm? You can't, you see, why is Krishna throwing all these problems? You just can't solve the problem with a simple answer. Okay, this is why. I have to, there's a whole change that I need to undergo, which is what Krishna is pushing towards. If he change and if we take that as his mercy and change and become his devotee, our miseries for eternity will be solved. Krishna want to solve all our problems, but by giving us a certain problem, he is making us inquire, why am I having this problem? Then in the quest, you may come in contact with devotees and eventually get in contact with the knowledge, and then take to the knowledge and then associate with devotees and become a servant of Krishna and go back to God. So that is the whole plan of Krishna. So try to understand this and take to Prabhupada's books and read them seriously. Even if you're dying, however emergency the situation is, just read Prabhupada's books every day for 1 hour at least. Don't do micro reading, which is like, yes, Prabhu, I read one quote somebody shared on WhatsApp. I don't want that. You have to read Prabhupada's books like, seriously, 1 hour every day. Then you will see the change, tremendous change in your life. All right, so next. Soundari Balasubramanian. If you follow Ritvik, who has given the transcendental knowledge? Srila Prabhupada. So, Ritvik is just as a matter of convenience. The original transference of knowledge is only happening through Prabhupada's books. And even that's why in our movement, we are very much obsessed with the screen here, because on the screen we can show the books, the quotations from the books. In no other place they show like this. No other place. And that's because we want to be obsessed with the books. That's where the knowledge is. Let's not forget Prabhupada in the scene. Um, this is as I always say, this is the more important part of the screen that you're watching here, and this is the less important part. This part. So this is what is driving everyone to become a devotee. So Prabhupada is still giving the knowledge, but of course, how to execute it, how to actually put it into practice, you need association of devotees who are following the books, and that's why Prabhupada also constructed temples, and he had devotees to manage the temples and all this, So nothing great, nothing difficult to understand. It's quite simple. Rajeshwari Mataji, but Mahaprabhu, why did he not tolerate the offense of Chota Haridas? Again, example, to set an example of how strict a sannyasi should be, how strict Nishkinchananam Navranita Yavat. No, this is Nishkinchanasya Bhagavad Bhajanonmukhasya Param Param Jigamishor Bhavasagarasya Sandarshanam Vishayinam Athayoshitam Cha Ha Hanta Hanta Vishabhakshanatopya Sadhu. This is by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's otherwise, I mean, there will be so many debauchees, and then, oh, it's all okay. You know what? It's all okay. He's okay. This verse. Greatly lamenting, the Lord then informed Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, alas, for a person who is seriously desiring to cross the ocean, material ocean, and engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord without material motives, Seeing a materialist engaged in sense gratification or seeing a woman who is similarly interested is more abominable than drinking poison willingly. That means worse than suicide. Is a quotation from Sri Chaitanya Chandrodaya Natak, 823. So you see, Saurav Sahu, who actually destroyed the Varnashram Dharma in India? Well, it started off with Shringi, the boy who cursed Maharaj Parikshit. And that was the beginning of the downfall of Brahmanas in India, in Kali Yuga. And that was basically how Kali Yuga actually entered. The Brahmanas were keeping it at bay. The devotees, Brahmanas, the sages, they were keeping it at bay because they were so strong in their culture, and then they maintained the entire flock, entire population, perfectly Krishna conscious. And of course, with a ruler like Parikshit Maharaj, there was no problem. But when Parikshit Maharaj was, taken ousted from his position because of the curse of this Brahmana boy Shringi, and all this is explained in the Bhagavatam, in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and how Parikshit Maharaj was, you know, taken away. And Parikshit Maharaj was absolutely ruthless against any irreligious principles. He was very kind, but he was ruthless against irreligion. He did not allow Kali Yuga to enter. But the time had to come. So how? Parikshit Maharaj had to be removed from the place. So this Shringi Brahmana boy, 12-year-old boy, cursed, and he was quite powerful. His curse worked. But of course, Parikshit Maharaj was a Vaishnav. He could have easily counteracted the curse. He already was saved when he was in the womb without even asking. Lord Vishnu saved him. His mother asked, and Krishna saved him. So he was going to die before he was even born. But Krishna saved him, and he could have done it again. But Parishit Maharaj did not ask, and thus that Brahmana boy Shringi used his Brahmanical power against a Vaishnava, and because of that Vaishnava Parad, and because then the king was now gone and then entered Kali. So that was the beginning of the fall of the Brahmanas. The whole Varnashram system entirely crumbled after that, over time. So it is still, there traces just for namesake, but the underlying core of it, which is Haritoshanam, Varnashramacharavatam, Purushena Parapuman, Vishnur Aradhyate Pantha, Nanya Tattosha Karanam, Atah Pumbir Dvija Sreshta, Varnashrama Vibhagashaha, Swanushthitasya Dharmasya Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. So this Haritoshan, the satisfaction of Hari is the central point of Varnashram Dharma. But Yaesham Purusham Sakshad Atma Prabhavameshwaram Nabhajanti Avajananti Sthanat Bhrashtaha Patanti Adhaha. So whoever gives up this uh, um, aim of satisfying Vishnu, those who don't worship Vishnu, they will fall down. And that's how the Varnashram system fell. Shringi was the first, who has started this. That curse to Parishad Maharaj had this butterfly effect, as they say, into this massive corruption that is Kali Yuga today. That one curse that he uttered is now resulted in this. And but anyway, this was the force of time. Kali Yuga had to come somewhere or other, so it came in this way. But Parikshit Maharaj could have protected for only a certain time because the body will end in after some years, right? But he ensured that the protection will go on for all people through the Bhagavat Puran, and therefore he heard Bhagavatam from Shukadeva Goswami, and that Bhagavatam is immortalized by Vyasadeva in the form of writing. And today we are studying the Srimad Bhagavatam, and all this I have written in the poem actually in my this year's Vyasa Puja offering. I don't know if I can take that out. Hmm. Just a second. Okay. Gmail. I'll just take you there. This is what. Tattva notes. Yeah. So this is the only article on this blog. I have again failed to write another article. Actually, I have so many plans. Anyway, you see here. I don't know if you can see all this. This is the poem that I wrote for this year's Vyasa Puja. I said, okay, Prabhu Sundagopal Prabhu had a heart attack and all of that, and because he is serving Prabhupada, very strongly, by his spiritual strength, his eyes came held together. But cruel time will not allow his company forever. We therefore have to become responsible to ensure that ISKM remains unstoppable. The movement does not keep cruising on autopilot. Powerful time will devolve it into a total riot. This is what powerful time does. Krishna spoke to the sun god and the science was handed down, but in the course of time, it all went crashing down. So that's why Krishna had to speak again to Arjuna, right? Because yoga bhrashta abhijayate. Yoga nashta parantapa. Yoga nashta happened. A sadhu protects millions from the burning material contact, so Maya relentlessly pursues to destroy the sadhu's impact. So, sadhu protects millions from the burning material contact, and Maya relentlessly pursues to destroy the sadhu's impact. But during his physical presence, she cannot at all thrive, just as Kali couldn't thrive when Parikshit was alive. Maya then employed her ever so evil ploy. She had him removed by the curse of a Brahmana boy. Vishnu had saved him once and could have done it again, but Parikshit didn't ask him, for he knew he couldn't be slain. But who would protect the people from the degraded age in the absence of the king who was also a sage? Parikshit solved his dilemma with a masterful maneuver. He released a weapon that would negate the material fever. No, he did not release his sword from its sheath, nor did he release an arrow from his bow. It was the Bhagavatam he released from Shuka's lotus mouth that would dissipate all darkness by its immeasurable glow. Thus he became immortal and saved the people forever, although Maya tried her best to keep them under her cover. These dirty tricks of Maya are known to pure devotees, so they write books and guide all souls with ease. So, Srila Prabhupada wrote vigorously to save everybody. He built a house whose shelter is denied to nobody. The movement can flourish even after his departure only if his instructions his disciples are able to capture. Only an exemplary devotee with unshakable conviction can save himself and inspire others with devotion. The Acharya easily does this during his manifest presence. His sincere disciples have to do that in his physical absence. So, of course, this is all. This is the poem. Um, I wish to write more on this actually, on this blog here. This is my pet projects actually, but let me see if I can get anything done. I need all the Vaishnavas' mercy to be able to do all this work. So please, please give me mercy so that I can do more service. Um, so yeah, the East Godavari shore is very divine. Cows, farming, grain. AD stands for Anno Domini, Latin for in the year of the Lord, while BC stands for before Christ. Delvis is asking, how can I do pran pratishtha of Krishna at home? You can. I mean, first thing is before we establish deity worship, we have to first of all brahmanically qualified. Um, for now, you can just keep pictures first and pictures of Prabhupada, Guru Parampara, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Radha Krishna, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra, Prahlad Narasimhadev, Panchatattva. You can keep that and then do our Mangalarati program first and then read books. You can offer some flowers at the altar there and keep it simple. Don't get into deity worship elaborately, immaturely. Um, the main thing is we have to read and understand the philosophy first because honestly, deity worship is going on forever. But without understanding, we cannot actually grow in our spiritual life, and especially in Kali Yuga, the way of deliverance is chanting the holy name. You have to chant Hare Krishna. And for deity worship, once one becomes a Brahmanically qualified devotee by Diksha, then one can engage in deity worship at home. Until then, it's not advised. So you do like that. You read Prabhupada's books, you spend more time chanting, reading, and becoming qualified and associating with devotees and in the temple. Then once you get properly initiated, then you can worship the deity properly. Yeah. Chota Haridas presented himself as a brahmachari. He was actually a sannyasi. If he say he was a Shudra, is okay. What? I don't understand. No, that is not correct. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a lesson to teach. Ela Tiwari. What to do if difficult times do not seem to end and it becomes hard to maintain faith on God? Okay. See, we challenge God when we are in difficult times. Just because we have difficult times or there is no God. That's the most selfish way of looking at things. Um, See, these kind of thinking happens because we don't think like a devotee. A devotee only knows actually what Krishna is planning for us. And even if he does not know, he knows one thing. What is that? Suhrida Sarva Bhutanam. Suhrida Sarva Bhutanam. That means Krishna is the well wishing friend of everyone. So whatever is happening to us is happening only for good. You see? Yeah. Only happening for good. We only see it as unfavorable because of our own perspective. But our perspective has to change. The Shastra is there to train our perspective. Seeing through the lens of the Shastra means what? So we have to understand it through Krishna's perspective. We have formulated our own perspective, which is wrong. That's not the way to see things. So that's why, how to maintain faith? You have to read. Honestly, this reading is not happening in many devotees' lives. Thanks to modern technology, they have left reading. Micro reading here and there, some WhatsApp quotes, Facebook quotes, Instagram quotes. This will not do. Honestly, this will not do. It may be a inspiration for the non-devotees to somehow catch up something, but this is not for devotees. Devotees have to read regularly, at least an hour a day. So if you're serious in having faith in God and have your difficult times to end, then you have to become devotee. Then even the most difficult time will become easier time, easy time. This is the thing. It's not the difficult times will disappear. That also can happen. Nothing stays forever anyway. But even during the difficult times, one will be totally peaceful. That is real freedom. Not that my happiness is tied to my situation. Oh, if there's a difficult situation, I'm facing all difficulty, I'm in trouble. And if it's an easy situation, then I'll feel happy. So Krishna should make it happy for me. So he should change the situation. No, he wants to change us so that we can face any situation with ease. We have to become immune to material misery. That is only possible by taking shelter of Krishna. Daivi hiesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mamevaya prapadyante mayametam tarantate. We can only cross this ocean of material miseries by taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. Otherwise, zero chance. So instead of losing our faith in Krishna, if we take that this is actually Krishna's mercy, and that is there 10:14:8. Dimitri is saying the screen is frozen. Is it still frozen? Please tell me if it is moving now. Because for me it looks okay. I don't know. Um, just let me show you this. Um, this verse. तत्तेऽनुकम्पां सुसमीक्ष्यमाणो भुञ्जान एवात्मकृतं विपाकं हृद्वाग्वपुर्भिर्विदधन् जीवेतयो मुक्तिपदे सदाय भाक्. My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. Purport. Srila Sridhar Swami explains in his commentary that just as a legitimate son has to simply remain alive to gain an inheritance from his father, one who simply remains alive in Krishna consciousness, following the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, that is the meaning of being alive in Krishna consciousness, automatically becomes eligible to receive the mercy of the personality of Godhead. In other words, he will be promoted to the kingdom of God. The word Susamikshamana indicates that a devotee earnestly awaits the mercy of the Supreme Lord, even while suffering the painful effects of previous sinful activities. Lord Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita that a devotee who fully surrenders unto him is no longer liable to suffer the reactions of his previous karma. However, because in his mind a devotee may still maintain the remnants of his previous sinful mentality, the Lord removes the last vestiges of the enjoying spirit. Vestiges means last traces. The Lord removes the last vestiges of the enjoying spirit by giving his devotee punishments that may sometimes resemble sinful reactions. The purpose of the entire creation of God is to rectify the living entity's tendency to enjoy without the Lord, and therefore the particular punishment given for a sinful activity is specifically designed to curtail the mentality that produced the activity. Although a devotee has surrendered to the Lord's devotional service, until he is completely perfect in Krishna consciousness, he may maintain a slight inclination to enjoy the false happiness of this world. The Lord therefore creates a particular situation to eradicate this remaining enjoying spirit. This unhappiness suffered by a sincere devotee is not technically a karmic reaction, it is rather the Lord's special mercy for inducing his devotee to completely let go of the material world and return home back to Godhead. A sincere devotee earnestly desires to go back to the Lord's abode. Therefore, he willingly accepts the Lord's merciful punishment and continues offering respects and obeisances to the Lord with his heart, words, and body. Such a bona fide servant of the Lord, considering all hardship a small price to pay for gaining the personal association of the Lord, certainly becomes a legitimate son of God, as indicated here by the words Daya Bhak. Just as one cannot approach the sun without becoming fire, one cannot approach the supreme pure, Lord Krishna, Pavitram Paramam, without undergoing a rigid purificatory process, which may appear like suffering, but which is in fact a curative treatment administered by the personal hand of the Lord. This is how we have to understand this thing. All right. Saurav Sahu, not Shudra, but he was did something which is in the life of a brahmachari, so he punished by Lord. Same Lord have no problem with a controlled sex life for grahastha life. Yes. So sannyas, it's not a brahmachari, sannyasi. Yes, he did not. Everyone need to act according to their position in the varnashram system. But honestly, who? What is your position in the varnashram system? Everyone is now practically a Shudra. So the only way we can actually call out Shudra Sambhava, the only way we can become Vaishnavas and come back to our original Varnashram position by engaging ourselves in Krishna's service, and that's how it is. So basically, we have to become Krishna conscious. Yeah, just an eye contact, and the Lord rejected him. Yeah, prekshanam, to see. Radhika Saki Mataji. In relation to learning things for Krishna consciousness, what about learning classical singing or instruments or dancing? Are these allowed as they are favorable for Krishna consciousness? We can use these talents to serve the Lord. So, concerning this, we if we actually participate in kirtan, we will see. Of course, it is good. Just like Jiva Goswami, he learned grammar from Madhusudan Vachaspati, but the focus that Jiva Goswami had and the focus that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had, that right after their studies, they will go straight into devotional work. That is where we fail. We would like to take the example where he used this in Krishna's service, but will we end up using that in Krishna's service? Or namesake use it for Krishna's service, but also use it for like many other things and get lost in the intricacies of music and spend a whole lifetime learning the intricacies of music and all that, which is not our goal. So we have to learn enough um, of the music or anything for us to become Krishna conscious. More than that, it's atyahara, it's over collecting. Because then we will be influenced. Because you see, honestly, Guhyamakyati Prichati. This is actually two of the Preeti Lakshanam or activities which endear one to another or make another person attractive to us. So if we learn something from someone, we automatically feel indebted to that person and we feel attached to that person. That is natural. Um, but if we take it too far, especially when we're learning material things, language or music and all these things are secondary apara knowledge, but can be used in Krishna's service. Yes, we can learn. And we can learn mridanga, we can learn harmonium, we can learn some, basic sangeet, music, but not more than that. And honestly, if we just participate in kirtan, that's enough actually. We can learn. Like, I did not learn formally any music lesson, but we can sing something, right? We can play some instrument. I did not learn mridanga properly from a proper teacher, but we can manage in a kirtan. So, of course, some people do have musical ability, or some people don't. So, for those who do, with some practice, they can get it. And we have seen so many devotees who have come and then participated in kirtan, and then they learned many things. They learned the singing, and then they learned the and voice control. These are things which are if we sing enough, then we can learn all these things by repeated singing and by actually understanding what we are singing. Regarding this, there was this video from one of kind of an ISKCON devotee, but he's on his own actually. He actually came here as well. He's a very popular singer in the Mayapur and Vrindavan Kirtans and all this. His name is Hari Bhakti De, and he came here. Um, he's like a half American Indian kind of person. He stays in America though. He made a video with like a selfie video kind of thing, and he spoke on his Instagram or something, Facebook, where he said that ISKCON Kirtan standards are very bad. It is just like noise. You should learn how to nicely sing for the Lord um, in an attractive, nice way, in a nice presentation, in a nice presentative, what in a nice presentable way. Sorry. So um, all the you know, it's like he says, oh, ISKCON kirtans and all are like children, like untrained people who are just like singing or shouting whatever they want. They're not like there's no methodical training of kirtan in our movement. That's what he's saying about ISKCON. Now, And he says his argument is, um, oh, the argument I always hear is that we should not, we're not here to become professional musicians. We're here to become devotees, and so we should not learn any professional music. Um, but then, if we want to be good at something, we can always learn that thing and do it for Krishna. If I want to do it nicely for Krishna, I can do it for Krishna in a nice way if I can learn singing. And so, if one learns music and singing, that would actually mean he is more devoted rather than just singing without any thing, just singing whatever he wants. Now, there is some truth to that argument, but the problem is people may get easily diverted in that way. Now, if you see Narottam Das Thakur's music lessons and the way he conducted his kirtans, he was so strict that he wanted the exact accurate beat to be played at when the singing is going on. So one should not play the wrong beat, or one should not do some variation of the beat, something like that. Now, Prabhupada did not impose any of those strictures on us. Now, Narottam Das Thakur, he is very careful at you know offering the best offering of music and in the service of the holy name, so that it attracts the Lord. In fact, the Panchatattva descended in his kirtan in Kheturi Gram. The first Gaura Purnima celebrations after the disappearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Um, in fact, during his presence, there was no Gaura Purnima celebrations. It was only after his departure. And first one to organize that was Narottam Das Thakur. And in Kheturi Gram, he did that. And it was this huge festival, massive festival. And when he was leading the singing, the kirtan, and he was leading the kirtan in such a way that everybody was transported to Golok Vrindavan, like they were in the, they were in the spiritual world. Actually, they were just in bliss. And the Panchatattva, although they have all disappeared by the time, they all descended in the kirtan and danced like mad people in the kirtan. That was Narottam Das Thakur. And he was so sweet, his voice was so sweet, and he was so expert at music. And he also started this, Mridanga Sampradayas and beats and the whole technical aspects of that. And yes, Prabhupada did not impose on it, but when devotees learned it, he encouraged. Eventually, of course, in the early days, the Americans were just beating whatever they could on the drum. But, eventually, when they associate with Bengali Vaishnavas and everything, they would learn musical instruments, and that's good. We should learn if we can. Harmonium, Mridanga. Even Prabhupada himself learned harmonium and Mridanga. And you can see that video also where Prabhupada says, he was playing Mridanga, and one of the disciples, he says, wow, Prabhupada, you are very expert at playing Mridanga and everything. And then Prabhupada says, my father wanted to become like this. He did not want me to become a barrister in London and become a mlecha. He wanted me to become a devotee. So he learned some Mridanga and all of that. Where did he learn? Somewhere, some teacher he learned. So these things can be done. But we should not lose focus. The problem by encouraging too much of this, of course, there must be a technical aspect, and devotees should teach. They should teach. But Haribhakti, he goes way more deep into the, how to control your voice and how to control your modulation, which is a huge distraction. And that is a testament, in his own spiritual life. You won't see him like a devotee. He came here with pant, shirt and everything, and no tilak, nothing. No man, yeah, he had some devotional language. Some kind of air of some aura he was carrying of this, he's a big kirtaniya kind of thing. But a devotee, a humble devotee, he wears some devotional clothing first of all. Why are you wearing like karmi? So although he is so much fixated on the musical aspect of it, you see the focus from devotional aspect is gone, and that is where the danger is. So, of course, if there can be a team where devotees conduct these classes of kirtan and not too much stressing, like Prabhupada, when he encouraged them, to sing and all that. He did not too much stress on, you must say this tone like this, that the inflection should be like that. He did not do that kind of micromanaging. He let Krishna, and some people will shine, and some people can sing better than others or something like that. And it will come out eventually anyway. But those who want to learn, they can learn. There should be, yes, ideally a department where technical aspects of these can be learned and can be taught. But apart from that, too much emphasis of music is dangerous. Just like too much emphasis on Sanskrit language is also dangerous. Like one disciple, I think Achutananda Swami, he asked Prabhupada, his Prabhupada's disciple, so he asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada, I want to learn Sanskrit, so please give me your blessings, Prabhupada. Yeah, I'll give you my blessings, you go to hell, Prabhupada said. Now, why? Sanskrit is a language, I mean, it's a perfect language, and all the scriptures are written in this language, like, how can you say like that? Yeah, we want to learn Sanskrit. Like, I don't want to be a Sanskrit scholar, but I want to know enough Sanskrit to understand, kind of, I can get the meaning of the verse, and that we can learn from Prabhupada's word to word translations. I've said this before. So we don't want to become a scholar like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur or Jiva Goswami. We don't want to go in that direction. They are pure devotees. They are, they can keep their focus. We may lose focus. We may get enamored by, all the flowery, grammatical jugglery that we can do with the Sanskrit grammar and try to pose, and the ego that comes with that. That, oh, now I'm a Sanskrit scholar. Now I'm a great musician. I'm a ustad. Ustad. We want the title of ustad, Kirtaniya. These are the more important things that will actually get us away from devotional service. That pride that comes with it. We want to become humble. We want to become, and we don't have time to, if somebody is already musically inclined, okay, fine, you already have some knowledge, okay, use that in Krishna service. But if you don't, yeah, you can learn some, like our instruments, mridanga, kartal, harmonium, maybe, veena, something like that. But don't go into, like way into this, intricacy and forget the whole thing. Wastage of time. Every moment lost in remembrance of Krishna, I mean, in forgetfulness of Krishna is a moment, is a waste. Sahanistan mahachidram saloga, what is that? Samoha sacha vibhramaha janmuhurtam kshanam vapi vasudevam nachintayet. So if you lose remembrance of Krishna, even for a moment, that is a great loss. So we don't want to lose focus from that, because honestly, we don't have much time in this world, in this life. So we want to learn enough to serve Him, not to fuel our pride. So that balance has to be struck. So similarly, reading and everything, we have to learn English. We have to learn a bit of Sanskrit, yeah? But not too much. Enough for us to understand, and through Acharya's explanation, we'll be protected. We don't need to become like a Sanskrit scholar to evaluate the meaning of like all the Vedic texts and like come up with a fantastic explanation and then defeat the whole world. Like that's not our this thing. We have to become devotees. And the Acharyas already, they have become Sanskrit scholars. They have explained everything. We just have to take it and then spread it. So a little Sanskrit knowledge is useful, but you can learn that from Prabhupada's books. You may not be an expert after that, or you may become expert actually if you really observe tiny everything. You may become absolute expert. But that is not our aim. See? Lakhu Trivedi. Prabhuji, can you please explain me the three modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance, please? Not now. See, please ask questions related to the class. This is, you read Bhagavad Gita. There is a chapter called the three modes of material nature, 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. You read that. You will get a good idea. And then you read 17th chapter as well and 18th chapter as well. You will get a good idea of what is the three modes of material nature from that. Yeah? This is not the time for that. Thank you so much for informative class. Very thankful for classes. Okay. To save us from swaying away from track. I'm just keeping myself on track. Please explain 7, 9, 11 meaning. You know the meaning. Krishna does not need anything. It's the offering, the person who offers to the Lord, he is the one who benefits. There's nothing more. See, don't ask like that. Please explain the meaning of this verse and that verse. See, we are talking about a class here. You have to learn how to ask questions, honestly. And this is for everyone. Don't just ask random things. Um, of course, every topic is connected because it's with Krishna, but the focus of this is like, what we have discussed in this class. Don't just suddenly, like, without any context, ask me to explain something, like three modes of material nature. Prabhu, can you explain this verse? Can you explain that verse? A whole lecture can be given on these verses. So, you know, keep it to the keep it to the subject of the class. That is important so that we can understand the subject that was discussed in the class. We don't want to go all about the place and we'll never end. What is the time now already? 10:45 in Singapore. So let's stay to the lane. Some people learn music to satisfy masses, but the aim is satisfaction. I think this is the mistake. This is another important thing. So pride comes because I want to be all known as this great singer, satisfy the taste of the people, and that's exactly what we don't want. That's exactly what we don't want. We want to satisfy Krishna, and Krishna is not here on a talent hunt. He's here on a devotion hunt. He comes here to pick up devotees. He does not pick up talented musicians. So he's on a devotee hunt here. So he I mean, what is that? Maya Mrigam Daitayep Sitamanmadhavat. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chases after people to make them devotees. He doesn't chase them, and hunting them down for talents. No. So our, as very nicely pointed out by Dimitri Prabhu, aim is to satisfy Krishna. This is their mistake. They want to satisfy the people. This is where pride comes in. And I want to satisfy the masses. Oh, I'm attracting so many people to Krishna. I'm a great musician, I'm a great Kirtaniya. You see, so many people are taken to Krishna consciousness because of me. That's where we fall. That's exactly where we fall. We're not advanced, so may use the acquired skills for sensory satisfaction to get fame. The chance to fall into material consciousness is more. Yes. Actually, if I show you something, a verse, which is 8:22:26, if I'm not wrong. Yes. Janma karma vayorupa vidyaish जन्म कर्म वयो रूप विद्यैश्वर्य धनादिभिः यद्यस्य न भवेत् स्तम्भस्तत्रायं मदनुग्रहः. If a human being is born in an aristocratic family or a higher status of life, if he performs wonderful activities, if he is youthful, if he has personal beauty, a good education, and good wealth, and if he is nonetheless not proud of his opulences, it is to be understood that he is specially favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That means, usually, when we have all these things, a good education, a musical ability is actually a part of education system. So, good education means, you know, music is also included. So, if you have this, and if he's still not proud, that means he's favored by Krishna. जन्मैश्वर्यश्रुतश्रीभिरेधमानमदः पुमान् नैवार्हत्यभिधातुं वै त्वामकिञ्चन गोचरम्. My lord, your lordship can be easily approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted, because one who's on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty, cannot address you with sincere feeling. Now, this does not mean, however, that all those people who cannot sing are great devotees, and all those people who can sing are not devotees at all. They are all not approaching with the Lord with sincere feeling. And those who have bad musical sense or no musical sense, they are actually coming with sincere feeling. That is another huge mistake many people make. It's not that having musical ability is automatically synonymous with a lack of devotion, and a lack of musical ability is synonymous with devotion. No, because we had an experience of a devotee who cannot sing. He cannot even keep time on his clapping. So he once sat on this Vyasasan giving class, and he said, I'm going to sing because it's not about the musical ability, it's about the devotion. And he sang. And as you can imagine, nobody could play the mridanga, and nobody could play the kartal, and nobody could really follow, which, I mean, happens when somebody who cannot sing sings. um, that's all fine. Even then it's fine, because it's about the holy name. Okay. But he said this point, that it is the bhavagrahi janardhan, that the Lord accepts the bhava. It does not accept the music. So, by saying that, where is your bhava? You are saying that you have the bhava. What is your point? Now, since you have no musical ability, and since Lord is bhavagrahi, and therefore, since I have bhava, the Lord will accept my bhava, so I will sing. So, where is the bhava there? There is actually pride, even in the lack of musical ability, or there, there is pride. So, we cannot flip it the other way and say, lack of musical ability is the criterion for devotion. No. Then Narottam Das Thakur is not a devotee, that means. Huh? So, this is nonsense. In fact, if you see in the Bhaktivinoda Thakur song, ताथै ताथै बाजल खोल घन घन ताहे झाझर रोल. That song is there, that Udilo Aruna Purab Bhagya. Tathai tathai bajolo khol. That means what? The khol, mridanga, is being played in time. There is a rhythmic playing of the mridanga and the rhythmic hitting of the jhajas, the kartals, the big kartals. All this created a very nice, um, what is that? Atmosphere in the morning when Lord Gaurasundar, he was leading his Sankirtan party in the streets of Nadia. So in this way, the song was sung. So Tathe Tathe Bajalo Khol. And if you see Rupa Goswami, he composed verses. Everything has meter. That means what? There is a systematic arrangement. Otherwise, you cannot compose shloka. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote songs. Everything in meter. There is a tune to that. There is a rhythm to that. All these are there. It's not that it's aparavidya, paravidya, musical is nonsense, everything is nonsense. No, it's still required. It's required. But, and some people have it. I mean, they can just clap in time automatically. You know that person has the musical sense. Some people don't have it. And it's fine. But I cannot force my way since I don't have musical sense, I should sing. Because I have devotion. You don't have. You have musical sense. You are distracted. You are not approaching with sincere feeling. I am approaching with sincere feeling. Where is the sincerity in that statement? So we have to take it in the right, this thing, right attitude. The attitude should be good. Like, yes, Vanaras were not very skilled warriors in Ramachandra's army. They threw stones and they, won the war still. But in Mahabharat, Arjuna was an expert warrior. Oh, this warrior Shiva, this Astra Shastra and all this Yuddha, what is that? Dhanurveda that he learned, these are Aparavidya. Then that was used in Krishna's service. And he was an expert. In the whole world, he was the best. So, if one is talented, one should use it for Krishna's service. And if he has best talent, like Rupa Goswami, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, your handwriting is like pearls. Beautiful to see. It's like a string of pearls. And not only his handwriting was good, his Sanskrit composition, how, I mean, just beautiful. Rupa Goswami's, even Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's composition, beautiful. Like we sang the song Preme Ghurnita, Nayana Purnita, Nityanandashtakam. That is by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. I mean, what kind of beautiful sound, I mean, that, and with glorification of the Lord. If they did not write all these songs with beautiful meter and, of course, the meaning is the main thing. This is just a vehicle. Because people will be interested in music, but when they hear nice lyrics along with music, that is very attractive. So, and also music has its own, of course, you can convey feelings with music. That is a huge art. But then feelings with our lyrics of Krishna consciousness, then that is the perfect combination. So if one can use it, one should use it. But it's not that that should be emphasized as the thing to learn, and then not much emphasis is placed on one's devotional character. One's character. That's the point. Are the, what? Hare Krishna Swami. Swamiji, I'm not any Swamiji. Swamiji is for sannyasis, I'm just brahmachari. What's the only one advice to develop selfless love for Krishna? Association of devotees. That's it. Two verses I will show you, and I'll quickly go to the next one. Okay, Madhya 2283. कृष्ण भक्ति जन्म मूल होय साधु संग कृष्ण प्रेम जन्मते हो पुनः मुख्य अंग. The root cause of devotional service to Lord Krishna is association with advanced devotees. Even when one's dormant love for Krishna awakens, association with devotees is still most essential. More? Two more what? महत कृपा विना कौन कर्म भक्ति नय कृष्ण भक्ति दूरे रहु संसार नाहि क्षय. Unless one is favored by pure devotee, one cannot attain the platform of devotional service. To say nothing of Krishna bhakti, one cannot even be relieved from the bondage of material existence. And therefore, साधु संग सर्व शास्त्र कोय लव मात्र साधु संग सर्व सिद्धि होय. The verdict of all revealed scriptures is that by even a moment's association with a pure devotee, one can attain all success. Sadhu sanga sarva shastra koy. Okay? So, is it pre-recorded or live? It's live. 799 and many other verses say that we can satisfy Krishna only by bhakti, not deep learning music like that Hari Bhakti Day is saying. 799, let's go to 799. अन्ये धनाभिजन रूप तपः श्रुतौजस्तेज प्रभाव बल पौरुष बुद्धि योगाः नाराधनाय हि भवन्ति परस्य पुंसो भक्त्या तुतोष भगवान् गजयूथपाय. One may possess wealth, an aristocratic family, beauty, austerity, education, sensory expertise, luster, influence, physical strength, diligence, intelligence, and mystic yogic power. But I think even by all these qualifications, one cannot satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, one can satisfy the Lord simply by devotional service. Gajendra did this, and thus the Lord was satisfied with him. True. Very nice verse. Bhavagrahi Janardana. Actually, cleaning services are good to get more realization. True. Bhava means devotional emotion. Well, an emotion not just being, I'm a meat eater and suddenly when I come to Krishna's, when I see Krishna, the deity and then, oh, Hare Krishna, here is, some flowers for you. That's not, you know, I can act up something. I have to be a living devotee. Devotee means who devotes his life. One has to devote his life. So, emotion is not just a tears or something like that. What is one's mode of life? What is he doing actually? What is his life? Is he remembering Krishna always? He doesn't have to be like, suddenly rolling on the ground and tears flowing around from the eyes and hairs all standing on the end. He's fainting. That's not emotion. That's emotion. That's an overwhelming overflow of emotion. But that happens at a much later stage and a much higher stage. And many people actually mimic that and fall down. A real devotee never actually shows these symptoms. Even if he gets these symptoms, he will check them to continue his service and so that the symptoms actually don't block his service. Daruka, who is the driver of Krishna's chariot, he fans the Lord, and as he was fanning, he was getting stunned, and tears were welling from his eyes. But he forcefully checked his feelings so that if he becomes stunned, then the chamra will just stop in his hand. He was just like dazed at the feeling that I'm fanning the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But he checked those feelings and he checked very, very strongly restrained those and then continued his seva. My seva must go on. So that is real feeling. That is bhava. So it's only not some ornamental display of some emotional acting, but actually a way of life that one, like Arjuna said, Karishya Vachanam Tava. That is bhava. Whatever, like when Duryodhana and Arjuna were there in Krishna's place and then they had to choose between the army of Krishna or Krishna. Arjuna immediately chose Krishna. And Duryodhana said, "Oh, what a fool Arjuna was. I got the army. Okay, that's good." So the bhav of Arjuna was that he wants Krishna, no matter what. So that is bhava. Hmm. Not that, oh, some always some, crying or something like that. That is some sahajiya nonsense. Saurav, so one symptoms I hear that when chanting the holy name of the Lord, tears rolling from eyes and hair is standing. That happens when one has and bhav. Exactly what I'm saying. So no, these are not to be imitated. We being in the material plane cannot have these symptoms. Yeah, sometimes you will feel when you're reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, and this also is more, advanced feelings, and it won't. These are not the. I can act up these things. I can do an acting of these things, but that is not the bhav. Bhav means, are we waking up for Mangalarti every day? How important is Krishna in our life? Am I waking first thing I'm doing Mangalarti? And am I waking up early in the morning just for his satisfaction? Just for not only even Krishna, forget even Krishna. I mean, we are not having anything to do with Krishna. We have to become first of all a proper servant of Prabhupada. How can we directly go to Krishna? Who do we think we are? We are only able to serve Krishna because of Prabhupada's mercy. So that's why we sing the song Samsara Davana Leedha Loka Pranaya Karunya Ghana. So where is our bhav for Krishna? What Nalakovar and Manigriva had bhav for Krishna? Nothing they had. There were some rascals playing with women naked in the heavenly planets. Narad Muni saved them. And Krishna said, because Narad Muni has said, I must come before them, I will come before them, obeying Narad Muni, not because of these two people. Who are they? I have nothing to do with them. Krishna said in the Bhagavatam 10:10-25. So these tears rolling and all this is not only bhava. That's not the only thing. That, in fact, there is a purport by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Where is that? Prabhu would have taken like that. Um, where he says these ashtasattvic vikar, these symptoms may not be present, may not be always seen in the body of a pure devotee. That does not mean he's not in ecstatic mood. He's always in ecstasy. Huh? But he doesn't let that interrupt his service. Sometimes there is extraordinary force of feelings and then it may sometimes come out. But for the vast majority, he always exercises restraint. Bhava means how seriously I am taking Krishna consciousness, how seriously am I taking the order of the spiritual master. That is bhava. That is my feeling. I don't have music skills, but because teachers liked voice for saying pledge in assembly, they forced me to sing prayer. Only one day they said they could understand. Saurav Sahu, I don't understand why in India there's so much people don't following this authentic Krishna consciousness, but all other organizations like Ramakrishna, Sai, Bhagavad, Sadguru, they don't quote from any shastra. All right, so thank you very much for your time. We'll meet again, hopefully Monday, Wednesday. But honestly, I'm not consistent with these classes because of service. But if I can manage, I can do it. But let's see. I want to do some Vaishnava song classes as well. Anyway, so many plans. Writing the blog, making videos, doing these classes. Apart from the temple project itself, which is very important as well. I need a lot of mercy from Vaishnavas like you all, so that I can do some justice to all the seva that we have. All right, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. चैतन्य चरितामृत की जय, कृष्णदास कविराज गोस्वामी की जय, रूप गोस्वामी, सनातन गोस्वामी, रघुनाथ दास गोस्वामी, गोपाल भट्ट गोस्वामी की जय, जीव गोस्वामी की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल, हरे कृष्ण.